ESL presents ESL Challenger League in partnership with Intel, Acer Predator, DHL,
Well, Vincent, we are exactly where we want to be, you and I, tonight, in the second the Cups held for North America at ESL Challenger League Season 51. But with that, it also comes with a little bit of a downside, because I'm sure that maybe not necessarily where they would like to be our reign above in Sakura in the lower bracket as we take on their story.
Brink of elimination. That's yeah, definitely not where anyone wants to be, but that is exactly where we stand. An important space though is we've you know, had some to be honest, pretty cool opportunities for a bunch of teams. I feel like in this cut specifically, you know, teams like Reign Above actually to kind of get back into a space where they would prefer to, especially after a bunch of roster moves. But regardless, yeah, I think a whole lot of excitement here as we jump back into this thing.
Certainly, I mean, to be frank, I think that there's a little bit of excitement, but not really in the best places. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. These two teams have been a little bit out of it lately. You know, Reign Above having made some roster changes to try and fix out these things that pulled over a win over Notorious in a long 3-map stage, and they want that chunk of change. They want that money at that $8,000 top spot, as well as the spot in the finals for the North American season. Total of a $17.5 thousand tournament in overall. And yeah, as I was just saying a moment ago, like, it really hasn't been a perfect way of play for these guys as of the last couple of months in the Reign Above. And if you look over to the girls of Sakura, them losing 2 players in Fox and in Raven haven't really shaped up to be much better yet either.
No, and it's not just on the player side. I mean, Ink, who came in to the coach that roster at the beginning of 2025, recently stepping away from the team as well. They were actually able to best FlyQuest Red, who, you know, one of those roster moves was because they lost Fox to FlyQuest, you know, and they were able to win that, which I think is pretty cool. But then Lag, who've been really unbeatable locally. I really have been impressed by how consistent Lag have been over the last 3, honestly, the entirety of 2026. And like, you know, they've been able to step up. It's been pretty cool, even with roster changes of their own. But either way, on the Reign Above side, like you said, it was a long, drawn-out series against Notorious, but ultimately able to take the victory there. That was after an opening loss for Notorious earlier on. So this is how the lower bracket stands as is. And I mean, you can already see like teams that are in this lower bracket, like Phoenix is waiting for whoever is up next. Like that is another hard team to play against. It doesn't get any easier from this point on within this lower bracket whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of an addendum onto what I said about Sakura and their abilities as a team, because I think it would be a little bit misled for me not to bring up that best of 3 win over FlyQuest as a pretty big stepping stone for them in the right direction out of all of the losses they have that surround them. That's a really solid one. But we're going into this, and it's going to be a bit of a different beast in Reign Above, who, not necessarily in terms of the competition level, but in terms of the look that they once have had, Louis and Dave joining them and slotting in for some not very easy to fill roles, you know, on a team-to-team basis so soon. The sniper rifle and Dave is something we're going to need to see elevated as we go any further, with Louis as somebody who's jumped around the scene a little bit towards this same level. It's a team with a core that's been long-standing, now given a shake-up. What do you think of Reign Above?
Yeah, I think this is interesting. Honestly, I feel like you know, losing Colin was always going to be like a big hit for this Reign Above team. He got an opportunity. I think the quote was that he couldn't turn down there with Chicken Coop. But here's how the Sakura roster stands as is. Like you said, some big changes alongside, you know, Raven was a key piece of the initial core of this roster that was Impact FE. That formed in like 2024, you know, and that was with STX and Serendipity there. But it's Ava who takes Raven's place currently, and then Alice, who you know, has had a little bit more time, but joined when Fox got brought over to FlyQuest Red. So as we jump into this veto, I think it's going to be interesting. I think for in general, this is a Sakura team that I don't know necessarily how good their map pool really stands with some of the losses that they've taken. It's like hard to have a temperature check. But what I will say is that they enjoy themselves some Dust 2, Mirage, Nuke. Those are usually amongst the biggest one. And we're actually going to get to see both Nuke and Mirage at the start of this series, where Nuke picked by Rain Above, but Mirage elected by Sakura. So I think that, you know, that at least bodes well for Sakura in general. Rain Above, on the other hand, I think have been solid on Mirage as a team, as much as we've been able to see them.
Yeah, I think that Rain Above's Nuke's kind of wavering for me right now, in looking back particularly towards the most recent they played up against that Notorious team that we were talking about. It was a loss there. It didn't really seem like it was a perfect spot, and I think pound for pound that these guys of Rain Above's hold themselves to kind of a higher expectation than that, to be able to take a map of that degree, you know, one that they've been playing out for pretty long enough of a time, but again, changing in the system from pretty much two of the most important pieces is never going to make that any easier out the gate. But going on to a Mirage, going on to an Inferno, we've had these conversations about every other team before. They're not maps that have been reinventing the wheel. Like, there's not really a whole lot that you should be struggling to try and pull out the stops on, and where rotations can be abused or anything of that nature compared to a Nuke. So if we're going to be seeing a good Rain Above game here, then I think that we're going to need to see them straight out the gate showing that.
Yeah, it does feel that way. But in general, like, I think that, you know, for Rain Above, they've really struggled to prove that they can hang at this level. And I just mean like ECL level in general. And that's understanding that, you know, that's maybe a slightly lower level than previous years as well. So I think that in general, Rain Above need to step up today. This is the kind of match that I think could be a defining factor for them, where I'm like, okay, if they can confidently win this match, then, you know, maybe they have more to show that we haven't seen yet. To be fair, with, you know, changes, obviously big change with regard to Louis taking over as the in-game leader. Like, these are big deals, you know. And Sakura, as we've highlighted, weathering the storm of those changes themselves, but they've had, I want to say, a little bit more time. The problem is that, like, then Ink leaves, I think it was like literally a week and a half ago. So it's been tough. Oh yeah, I feel like in general.
Did for a moment forget about that. You have a question, because I don't know who in-game leader of this team is. I mean, I would assume, I guess, with Sakura? Colin gone, it would be Louis?
It's Louis, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you were saying before that you were thinking Dave is opping. I think Cobalt's actually opping.
Oh, really? That's even more weird. Didn't get my facts straight on that one.
I say that with the possibility of being wrong. I just looked at like 2 different BO3s, and he had a lot of op kills.
Sure, I mean, that'll do it. I guess only time will tell. I'm not used to knowing Dave as anything but an opper, which is why I don't know if the word would be concerned by any means, but certainly.
Well, and these are like relatively quick recent changes too. So, you know, they could still be like adjusting things. I mean, it
looks to be, you're right though.
6th of March that these two guys got like signed officially, but it's been a general like season / beginning of the year for roster changes for this Rain Above unit. You know, obviously the Colin situation alongside Rin, who was cut after that. Like, Colin moved away. Like, he got the offer from Chicken Coop, but then they cut Rin, saying this isn't like the fit we're looking for in the system that we're looking to build once moving away from Colin. But then prior to that, Rin was in for Say You Will, who was removed at the beginning of February. Like, it was literally 2 weeks that Rin was on this roster. So it's been a lot of adjustment, a big period of adjustment, basically the entirety of February for Rain Above. It looks like Tech Paw is out of the way. Good to roll on this. Historically, Nuke also a really good map for Sakura. I know I said they played a lot of it in their advanced season, but like even beyond that, just this core has had a lot of success here.
Yeah, we'll see if that'll be the case now. Site looks like it's going to be taken with a good number of eyes on them when they go through. So in they'll go. Out with the flashbang in the center of the site. It's actually Ava who won't be blinded and will be able to find Cercera, but those dual Berettas have been burnt off just the same. Styx can't do a damn thing. It's going to need to be a little bit of a triangulation to the rest of them as they make their way forward, just waiting for that bomb to be planted, but it won't happen up until they get all of the remaining kills. That's pretty solid, and also could have turned on its head pretty quickly, actually, if they had opted to go for the plant just straight out.
Yeah, it's also one where Sakura actually had pretty good resources posted up here on the A site. And it's not quite enough. One good flash, Ava gets one, then is traded, and right above. Be careful to pay attention to details so that they don't lose out in that type of situation that you were just talking about. Or you maybe force a plant a little too soon. Victim to their own preemptive bomb plant shenanigans. So won't be any sort of force by Sakura. Keep themselves on just the default pistols. One upgrade, but it's a P250. Just kidding. P2000.
Tapping away at this far range, just trying to see if they can pepper in some damage, which maybe somebody else can take advantage of, but they themselves find the head of Cobalt, even dinking down Sarah further beyond, who needs to escape. Don't want to lose anything for fun and for free. This one should be as close to free as can be, as the two players who were actually next on the chopping block, though, are in the red. This could give them a weapon to utilize later on. Not able to cross because there's a third.
Ultimately, though, I mean, getting a couple of kills is probably best case scenario for a round like that. I don't think Sakura are going to be too beat up about it. Right above. Against the biggest difficulty they have dealt with after two relatively easy rounds. Well, the guns out here, STX on an AUG. She does actually really like the AUG, I think, especially on this map.
Yeah.
Considering she's usually in yard or rotating.
This I do know. Okay, and you can see that it works out well when the second pair, or rather the second in the pair of the smokes hadn't all the way bloomed. Easy way that you're opening around versus other riflers that you were hoping to hold down your bomb sites maybe as utility was thinning, but overcommitment into inner, hopefully, here in the 5 versus 4 as Ava peels back. Instead, tries to jump up top. Someone's still on the back of the site, so they're going to be able to combine no matter what's to come their way. Even if it's an event dive, they also have some security measures in place for that on a jump spot in lower, who will hear it nade from Empathy. They've got no idea that they've crossed their site.
Empathy got one somehow. Miraculous work to be able to just steal that one away. Great isolation for Cobalt, who nails down Ava on the back of the site. So serendipity. Oh, she's ready and waiting, and that's the bomb dropped into the vent. Alice will walk away his world from up heaven. Sakura, the first gun round on the board, starting with STX, but finishing off with maybe a little bit of craziness there from Empathy, but otherwise a solid hold.
Really gonna leave much imagination this round, really. Rain above, I mean, they've got Glocks. One Desert Eagle for one round that they'll have taken reserve. They're not gonna be getting a whole lot for it. So fortunately enough, Swayu and Cobalt were pretty well off prior to this round start, so they'll be able to maybe spread the economy over a little bit more. This one is just gonna be a management of holding up as many bodies as you can in the conversion, though, here, Sakura, and losing already the one. That Desert Eagle's made its first incision, and if it can keep pushing and trudging along, just maybe they can play these distances well, and Alice is going to be giving them the chance.
Shouldn't be too hard for Sakura to clean this up. Maybe gives me a moment to talk about Eva, newest member of this roster. I feel like, you know, a player you probably won't really recognize at a couple of games, but otherwise not really having a lot of history at this level, but tons of traditional ESEA experience. A few advanced seasons more recently, 3 or 4 of those. Keen to see, it just says, you know, 18 years old, what she can do. Obviously, pretty big gap in this team left by Raven being gone. And I don't even just mean like in the server. I mean generally, Raven's such an important piece.
Player you're mentioning in Alice is playing on the backside of red now. Support to come over immediately. It's just going to be them relying on their mechanical ability to bail themselves out, and eventually there will be a support system in there being an AUG on the top side of Garage. Cobalt's gotten that one down, and they know that there still should be a lingering CT, or at the very least there can be. Ollie will flush Alice forward or back, maybe not, just standing on the backside of red, awaiting the flash, and getting a beautiful 4 versus 2. Should be almost unfumbleable.
I mean, at this point, certainly is Alice leveling up, picking up a double kill STX from her position initially on top of Mirage, offering up 2 others. It'll be empathy trading. You the wall bang and Sakura up into the lead, the CT side. It's rolling pretty nice and quick. Very impressive, to say the least. Right above, meeting a lot of resistance in their yard attack. In that last round, curious to see if Sakura are going to keep that up. Flash, just feeling like the basics here for some sort of mini wrap.
Eagle once again trying to work a little bit of magic. Not going to find anything except for a bullet to the chest. Low now. To call upon the rest with 2 flashbangs yet to be thrown. Swayu the wielder, and he's at a distance that looks like he's going to throw it for them on yard through mini, or rather inside of A on that split that you were talking about. It all depends on whether or not they find a kill. They'll stall. They'll wait. Hopefully maybe bleed out a little bit more utility even further beyond that. Alice engages and gets reamed for it. All with a big kill.
Dropping down the vent as well, potentially stay down there and actually allows Sarah just an opportunity isolate this duel. That's another one. These Deagles starting to scare me as this round begins to fall out of Sakura's hands. Serendipity push through ramp and somehow, some way, still alive. Let me get the heck out of there. It's a quick reaction. Ava sprints up, tries to further information as rest of Rain above walk into A together. Cobalt adds a second kill to that Deagle. Yeah. It surely should be over from here, even without some Kevlar. Ava 1v4.
Vincent, this one is a little bit of a bump in the road that we're going to have to forget if we want to keep our heads straight on for the remainder of this map at the very least, because these are the kinds of rounds that you really can't let linger in your mind as a player either. So for us to continue to talk about it any further beyond and call it anything other than mismanaged suppression of the pistols, I think would be more brain power than is required. We need to look towards the future with there still being money in the coffers for Sakura and that rifle in hand.
Yeah,
it's a rough one, but yeah.
This is meant to be the potential to like build more of that money, cash flow, etc. Unfortunately, they get nowhere close to doing that. It's slow, methodical approach out in yard, just trying to find duels. That is exactly what they do. Deagles shining bright. Cobalt, Sarah. The score line up once again. As you were saying, Sakura at least do have the cash to fall back on, so be happy with that. Alice, her first AWP of the game.
We're right in the back lines. Louis wasn't paying much attention, neither were any of his other teammates. They turn it around right in time to actually make it a man up, but only then and then alone will Empathy try and strike in through the hut on a delayed staggered swing, 1 down vent, and now they're somewhat separated, and so too now are the T's from the bomb. They're yet to get at top of it and make any sort of a final decision and commitment, but that honestly might elicit a peek from another member. Empathy again in and through, and they can confirm that they're playing it aggressively, but they don't have a full-on foothold.
It's not so well coordinated for Sakura. I mean, they get aggressive in multiple different ways through ramp and into lobby, all three, but it's all individual. Moving away from each other. Now with Ava isolated down onto the B site, 45 seconds, rained above. Even if they were to make the decision to press on into A, they had themselves a good situation, though once again, Sakura not happy to just sit and wait.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is just going to be giving it away, I think, a little too much for Rain Above. They just need to hit their shots, really.
Oh. Are they going to be prepared for STX? So, not really, but that's such a hard position to multi-frag in. At least the HP is so low for Ava. There's a real possibility of this going successfully, especially when Sway... Okay. What? Ava! Oh my gosh! Sway was on the backside of the site. Ava got the wall bang. That's ridiculous. 1v2. I said the HP was low. Makes it possible, but I didn't know it would be like that.
Intentional. We take those. It's all in the flick of the wrist, Vincent. Maybe the lack thereof. Kind of interesting to me that there's such a ramp gap that actually could have had that round done so much sooner from Sakura, frankly. A lot of things have to go right for that round to be won. They do, so I guess they get theirs back. I guess they, in some way, shape, or form, pull the wool from over the eyes of Rain Above now. Maybe not to the same degree, but they definitely needed it.
I agree with that. I just feel like they kind of got a little bit lucky there a couple of different ways. Sort of fell into their lap, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, the ramp walk should have been better. STX probably could have potentially played that a little bit slower, being an unknown entity at the rafters, but knowing that they were in a sticky spot.
And Ava obviously getting some good fortune there.
Oh.
Line them up like she did.
We've not yet seen them take this quickly.
They split the defenders' attentions, but the STX with a real nice crossfire, especially when Alice has the coverage from the top side of heaven. STX running out of ammunition, but she can fall back. We'll trade out there for empathy as well. Great awareness from Cobalt, understanding where these defenders are located. This still becomes very complicated, though. Maybe I can uncomplicate that right here and now if Alice were to go down. He's playing a dangerous game as empathy locks down Cobalt. That should just about do it. Will Sakura get themselves up again, and it's Rain Above's turn to maybe rethink how they're approaching things. A lot about this yard side, and I feel like they get stuck into fighting yard a lot early into this half. It's not a yard take in order to do something next. It's a yard take to fight yard. That makes sense.
Yeah. I like the timeout hourglass on the top side of the graphic. It's pretty cool. Gone now, but
no, you imagined it.
If you missed it, you missed it. You missed out.
You imagined that.
Oh, sure, I suppose if I did, then my imagination is making my life a lot more enjoyable than most. I have a built-in timer in my brain to imagine how long a timeout will take.
That's actually so cool. You like have cyberpunk,
like Rain Man.
You have like the cyberpunk cybernetics installed.
Yep. Bang on the money needs to be the op unless they get overrun, but they toss out a nade and kind of stick in with it. This could be the wrong move entirely. This could end up getting Alice killed as they're ready and raring to go. Nade's already prepped, and they're on for the entry. A flash off either wall, and Alice blinded still with a little bit of that muscle memory, knowing how to traverse down to the lower bomb site.
CX arriving, but unfortunately the backup just not there fast enough. Louis gonna drop on to Serendipity. Empathy has arrived, but she needs a multi. Out of ammunition, Ava from single door. Got the backup in double. No, Ava just a little too late to save her teammate. And it's been that throughout this round for Rain Above as STX comes back on through. That's an overstep, and Dave In a 1v2, at least the HP's low for STX, but no escape for Dave. That round, it was all rain aboves, but somehow they overstay their welcome and lose out.
Sure why those double doors players are so committed to trying to walk up for some reason. They're trying to get, I don't know, around a single or something with Dave stuck at the box on the bottom ends of dark, and you've got 2 weapons to use as well. I feel like just keeping the site stage that they have already then and there would make sense for one, but they want to claim that they know that everything else on the back lines is cleared out, but I mean, that's just simply not true. They've already confirmed a player at single door, and Dave is the one dueling with her, so yeah, that's obviously a round they should never have won, but another one that gets damn near close, and we're going to need to see a little bit more in the rightful rounds in order to convert some more victories on the map of their choosing.
I feel like Rain Above are just going to feel pretty hard done by on this half already. They could have had 2 more rounds at this point. Still a couple more to play. STX been phenomenal, might I add, out here in Yard. Rain Above moving with a little bit more intention when I was talking about them just fighting Yard for the fight's sake without a next step. Here's that next step. For the timeout. Serendipity playing to drop the smoke, and that was so beautifully. Dave, that was a very dangerous attempt. Could have dropped the bomb, but thankfully does not. 5-on-4. Advantage for Sakura.
Not for much longer. When Swayu's got that squeaky door open, but in the back's turn that STX will look to spray, goes unzoomed for the first of them. Good kill. Louis also damaged. Eva, not really the craziest of tasks right now to be able to just stave them off for a few seconds longer. They've got an offer in heaven, but not getting one of those frags actually might complicate their reasoning to go in for this retake. In the first place, Serendipity and Alice, both from the same space, both from the same spot where they've got no vision. It's called off, and really no better reaction, frankly.
Yeah, a lot of these rounds have come down to relatively close numbers, even if Sakura had been winning. And so, in the last round, 2 players surviving. CT side means that without these saves, an idea of reinvestment really not possible. The rest of Sakura. So maybe don't know quite how low Louis and Sway are. Right above with a lot of problems in this round that start with Serendipity getting the kill down lower. But I do think that Rain Above don't get panicked. Even when STX nails this down, the door lurk, definitely a good quality. Didn't catch who that was. Might have been Cobalt there, but catches Empathy on the transition back over into Mini.
Hold on now. Sarah might be a little bit too comfortable in the walkout Yard. There is somebody awaiting their arrival with that SMG close. Louis wants to do something about it. Louis wants to be a little bit maybe more of an active member trying to regain ground. See anybody initially, but here's the shots going over top and takes one for their trouble. It's going to take a lot someone to bring over a frag in their direction right now, it feels like, for Rain Above. Not only in the sense that they need to hit their shots, but they also need to be extremely confident what angles they take to fight in. Louis in through Mini, insert maneuver of sorts, might actually be the right call.
It certainly feels like it. STX now isolated. It was meant to just be an upper pop, but now you've got 2 prongs of approach coming in through main and through door. That's why you misses the first opportunity. This shot from Alice up in heaven, and Ava swings with the flashbang to lock out Sway. Finally, you get something done, but it's when everybody else is dead, as Dave will post up a second. We're both out in heaven. Now spotted them. Keeps going for swing after swing. Holds the bomb, and he gets down too. That is absurd for Dave. Start of a 1v4 clutch opportunity.
Yeah, he might be able to hit this one, but it's going to need him on the move because they're already hot on his heels. He's heard them, but he's going to take his best recourse and just getting elevated onto the rafters above. This is an awesome position. They're not going to be able to see him immediately, but abandons it, all obviously with silence. It may be a little loud because they're lingering just below. Very, very good from Alice Roar. Picks out the pistol as the point of entry and finds them their 7th as the CT side has gotten just about as many as they would have hoped to bring over into this next half.
Yeah, I just think Dave is so loud about that reposition, and he's hearing them drop down the vent at the same time. So I think he should be a little bit more aware that they've heard that Raptors step. Or at least on the box. I don't recall if he had stepped on the box or on the railing, but either way, that audio cue was given, and Rain Above, so knowledgeable. Credit for Dave, close to a clutch, no cigar. CX continues to be a menace out here in Yard. We sidestep this time. Sarah gets down into Secret, and it feels like for the first time that there's actually like somebody lurking in Secret the whole half, and it's round 12.
Back to the ramp. Back to Alice, who is blinded, but will still take a timing shot, not instantaneously. Not going to immediately look to ring it over, because that now going to enable them a more safe retake without needing to get anybody too entrenched in the bomb site outside of Serendipity, who just finds their 1, slams it down. With a minute, they're going to re-clear ramp. Anybody close? No. Anybody on the ramp itself? Not quite. So in they'll all flood from the same direction. This could be the move, seeing as no smoke or molly will stunt them. And to sway you. SMG, I mean, he's going to be playing the closest, so he'll hear it. All the action to happen. They've got to get active now. They've got to get through. They're taking so much time. They're setting up nades and only now letting them over. They certainly do, but this is going to require kills almost instantly, it feels like, because as the first of them drops, STX in the middle of the open, the door not swung, and it's going to be a panic attack if they have to stick that bomb, and there are players ready to fight them. There's one playing defensively, playing as the poster child, Empathy, ready and raring for a double as they not only double up in the round, but in the round count at the half.
8-4 at the half. Definitely a quality one put together by Sakura. CT side, though, obviously is the key differentiator when we're talking about that strong of a half. And Tony, I think the reality for Rain Above is maybe a little bit frustrating because I think they could have probably had a tied score line, maybe even better on that T side.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it couldn't have gotten... It shouldn't have been. I don't think it should have been. I think that they pretty much rectified most scenarios that they needed to in the majority of instances, Sakura, where the ones... I think this could have actually been a deeper game, if I'm being honest for you. I think it could have been like a 10-2. I'm on the opposite side of that conversation.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, they lost that eco round where they were playing against like a handful of Tech 9s and Deagles, and the conversion after that was an easy one for Rain Above. Oh. He's just going to be playing a tap-tap point-and-click adventure game on yard when once more the smokes are a little bit awkward to shroud any bodies, and actually even making his way back over to the ramp. He's going to be pretty happy with that one, the captain.
Yeah, nice triple kill out of Louis. Be a quick road to recovery, to be fair, on the CT side of Nuke, especially when you post up just a round like that. Not a whole lot of ambition towards force buy. But you will get a deagle. AK. She has sold it. Going to P250 mode. To be fair, buying the deagle be a little bit risky when you have no money like this.
Play you quick to give it up. Not going to be sitting on the ramp any longer. That nade almost missed time to the point where they would have been open. Floodgates, team kill, tough feet. SMGs not making as much money as they would have wanted now as they're all out of ammo. They get towards the site, and the bomb plant from Serendipity, I'll say, is a pretty big thumbs up. That's a successful round in my book.
Yeah, what else were you hoping to get in that round if not the bomb plant? I think Sakura will be over the moon for that one.
Call that a W where I come from.
One might even say fat W. With a PH.
I don't know why they have to. Oh, okay. I don't know why they have to be fat, but okay.
Yeah, with a PH. You know, nothing.
That's different.
Yeah. That's why I clarified.
Yeah, because usually you're just calling people names all the time, live on air. For those of you who haven't watched Vincent Casts on Twitter.
That's extra false. You call people names on Twitter way more than me.
Yeah, you're right.
See if Sakura can call up a gun round here. Start out this half. He's strong. It's quite a bonusy round out of Rain Above as they keep P7 and an MP9 in the equation. The Cobalt has an AWP. No reaction immediately. Sakura getting down B, or rather getting down Secret. They are there for a while before finally that does come in the form. I think that was Louis who dropped down. Oh, it's way you. He does have backup. That is going to be Sarah. Whole lot of utility comes flying out of control room, and they're just going to go on that. You know, no hesitation whatsoever. Great frag out of STX, and allows her access to the bomb plant.
Another one of these moments where that's going to feel pretty dang good to get through, even if it doesn't mean the game set in stone, early T-side turnover. Them having a lead, give them a little less pressure on their shoulders. Dave, I mean, he is already dead in the water, and Louis was fully committed to those double doors. It was an easy pick, and everybody just peeks on out after the fact that they know Cobalt has no escape, no weapon to be saved, nothing of that nature. Got now one chance left before TT side gonna need to maybe take a timeout to direct themselves in a better way. Sakura elevating to a gap of 3. After this, they are to win it, likely 5. Then we talk about the map pick of Rain Above going nowhere close to where they would have wanted. even a 5-7 right now for Sarah.
I'm not necessarily even sure where Rain Above are going to be at if they can't convert this round specifically.
Yeah.
Double digits for Sakura, that's what it would be. And once again, the easiest of access to yard control for Sakura. I won't say no resistance, because this time Cobalt at least trying to post something up. That's a very nice dink. He'll follow that up. 5-7 comes flying. Louis right behind. And so the frags fly in for Rain Above. Massive victory out in this yard fight. Serendipity and Alice left alone.
You gotta be careful. They would have heard Alice drop off the top side of Mini as there's a player in the actual position itself. So that's going to be an op now who's going to be on free range, just trying to hunt out anything maybe of use. Elevated is the crosshair and not able to replace it. Serendipity on swings on either side, though, has Louis, who's in the red as the first and point of contact in the rest of this clutch.
Oh my.
He loses his life. Swayu loses maybe this round if he's not able to get that vent safely, but Serendipity loses anonymity. They're still very much so going to be hot-footing around this A site, and straight in the vent, it's the spray that will hit. A 1 versus 4, if I'm not mistaken, for Serendipity to bring them 10. That might spell demise.
I mean, that can't happen. That just cannot occur for Rain Above. They're just swinging laissez-faire, not respecting Serendipity at all here, 1 by 1. This should have been an instant trade, but what a flick from Serendipity. And then from there, Swayu just can never get into position to, like, be duoed there and tethered with Louis. It's very hard. Yeah, I mean, but it's after a 1v4 loss like that where now their money is absolutely screwed, and that is... It's like, yeah, we got a timeout, but what are we going to talk about? How we threw that 4v1? And now we're on an eco?
Yeah.
Like, I'm overreacting, obviously, but it is a devastating mental space for Rain Above to be sitting in.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're going to be going into that next map of Mirage where, like, arguments of T and CT side are, like, pretty much out the window. Like, I don't even want to talk anything about that. It really doesn't matter. What will matter is if Sakura are going to be able to continue keeping the attacking side ball rolling from an end of Nuke on a victory. That's quite the high, I will say. Try and pull over into what should be your comfort zone, but if Rain Above has proven anything, that might not be entirely true at 10 times out of 10, so... F7's on, and an A to blow the door with Serendipity just showing a little bit of presence in towards inner. They've dipped right at the moment that they would have struck maybe some shots to the side of the head. So there's some coverage. We keep it moving on the outer sides of yard, but there are still players who are ready to try and hold angles if the CTs attempt to get a little bit cute. Okay. Okay.
Just don't fight the 5-7s, man. It's so tough, especially when you're all coming from the same angle. Though they'll finally separate a little bit.
That's big.
Alice and STX fucking getting kills. Dave's still unknown here, and Dave will line them up. Beautiful shots out of the 5-7. It's 2 for him, 2 for Louis. The new pickups doing incredible work, but Sway is gonna have to put this to some finality. Serendipity clutched last round. She have another clutch in the tank. I'm in hand, loud, proud about this. She's gonna pivot back down the ramp. I don't know that he would have been hearing any of that. A smoke for J-Hall as she once again resettles and goes back to A. 25 seconds, Tony.
Look like that there's been much a move for Swayu. I mean, they're pretty dedicated in towards one direction, and that one being a lean into the A site, if nothing else, but it's not going to be the ramp dive. It's actually going to be the vent dive instead, and this won't be heard at all. This is, unfortunately for Swayu, the best move that their opponent could have made. Another clutch slotted up, and one that likely I think that they'll find victory, seeing as Swayu can't just sit on his hands. He's got no kit. He's got really no opportunities unless he gets himself right up and close and personal, or else Serendipity will have found a post-plant position. But that will happen either way. That will be 100% of a certainty. Double door swung and a smoke to the left. You're going to swing in front of it. Swayu looking up, but it's the yellow railings where Serendipity stands and is elevated. Not only, I can only assume, physically in the server, but as well as outside of it, as they again bring Sakura a win.
I mean, Serendipity just can't be beat right now. I mean, she's got clutch after clutch. And obviously, Reign Above, you look at their investment in this round, and maybe probably could argue that Sakura, they shouldn't have gotten this close. But regardless, the way in which they are winning in tough scenarios, in very difficult spots, Sakura, it can't be undersold. Reign Above, nothing going right for them, even after 4 kills on 5-7s. Gets them access to a round, but Sueyu can't close. Even after that, you know, limitation or two. Sueyu gets a MP9 here. Sarah, not so heavy on the utility. This is the round where Sakura not just take control, but maintain and likely inch towards the close if they can win this round. This Reign Above's last gasp with, you know, a real rifle court.
Not going to be anybody actually going with that flashbang for empathy. Just trying to ward anyone who may be a little bit of a gimmick. They are prepared for it.
It's already a cool setup. So much yard presence by like every round, and now it's just empathy with these smokes, and then they're gonna move out. Run to the ramp side. Sway still delivers 2 kills. Cobalt quick on the reaction too. Or Ava all alone on a Mac 10.
I mean, they can pick something up to make it a little bit better, but the conversation doesn't really move the needle very much. There's a lot of nades in their back pocket, but getting into a position where they can actually use them is going to be the first point and problem, and Dave is on an absolute stunner. Not ready for that one. Sending them to 7. 3 players left standing, and you mentioned the money in the last time that we'll see them with a predominant core of rifling, and I think that that's given them, at least with 3 players alive here with those guns brought over, a pretty good way of saying that even if they are to lose one round now, playing up against Map Point, they're not going to be called out of question entirely, but that also entails that they win whatever this round shows.
Yeah, I'm looking at the money though, and I just feel like Sakura have to save. I don't think there's any real world where they can fully force this, but it was me. It is a Sakura timeout that they're taking right now. Reign Above gotta keep their head above water. That's what they've been doing. Struggle from a couple individuals, but overall, Reign Above, I think, not doing a good job of not getting baited out by empathy last round. The amount of presence that she was faking in yard.
Gonna be making a little bit of a burn on yard. Spray is wild from Louis, able to find the one, but thankfully there are some players to fall back upon. Won't just get too far out of hand. Way deep in garage, they can tap away at the backs that are more faced towards the in-game leader, who's giving good enough go as Dave wants a bit of the action just the same. Bit of a double kill per piece on the last of the 2 yard players. Well handled. Could have been a little bit more precarious position. Kind of fumbling on even one another, trying to get a hold of the rifle, I can only assume. 3 rounds distance with rifles. No ops, 2 Galils. It's a tattered buy for Sakura, and I'm sure that they're not going to be too happy about that if they let this one go.
Yeah, it's been a lot of 4-1s for Sakura. I feel like it's been fight. This is where I'd really love to see this T side. I'm going to say slow down, but like it doesn't even have to be a slow round. Just not something so instantaneous, but getting down secret is the plan. It's kind of in the vein of what I'm referring to. Reaction slow. Louis, I was going to say gets down, but he doesn't. It's just going to be the ramp rotator. And Sueyu. He's hearing a ton of footsteps. And again, Sakura wasting no time.
Yeah, not really committed to the left or right side. Both nades will stall Cobalt, and Sueyu needs to step up. Same spot, same spray that will hit. They won't be able to sit for long unless someone comes to swinging though, or maybe I'm wrong. Although Cobalt comes through, it is still Swayu. It's his round, a 3rd kill overall, and a clutch for Empathy who's softened, weakened with the bomb, let a little bit wide out to the open. I doubt they'll be able to get across to it.
No, I mean, this is just a crossfire. At least it should be. They're doing their level best to try and find it. The HP bar was low for Sway. Susara gets into an even better position to immediately refrag, but that was the main issue actually for Sakura. Where's the spacing on that execute? I mean, everybody's just so disconnected from each other. Look at this. I mean, Ava's going out, and SDX is nowhere close to be able to trade that. And the next closest player for Sakura is going single door.
Yeah, I was gonna say, forget about a third party in that conversation.
That is, for how decisive Sakura were with that execute, they knew that they were going. They seemed wildly unprepared to play off of Ava's first contact.
Yeah, it might be true. Nades all the way beyond them, though, softening a good number. That will be a huge buff to their ADR. Down on the bottom of the bomb site. As usual, it feels like there is a player ready to receive, and a little bit of a forgetful moment about where Swayu stood. They thought that that would be the only B bomb site player, and Louis, tension taken off. Could have been actually probably an equal 3 versus 3 in some instances, maybe. But it's not our conversation point. It's the retake. It's the plant off with Alice on the Deagle as the only player left standing now with 2 kills already to their name and a load. Dave, no! He's dead. A gun to use as well. The health might not be perfect, but it's Cobalt on and off. If he pulls a nade, he's going to need to be 100% sure that he is not going to get peeked down on, and that's simply not something he can say. As he gets closer, as he gets deeper, he'll burn out the close right position, a little more comfortable with that. Silo is a place he can swing, but they're through the doorway! Ready on the 5-7. It could have been everything for Sakura, but instead it all comes crumbling down. Although I will say, given how that round had begun and given what they brought into it, that was a damn near close conversion.
It couldn't have been another 1vx, though, from Sakura. I mean, Rain Above, they just couldn't have dealt with that reality. Alice, nearly a 1v3. Absolutely close to it. Even if it's a little bit of a fumble there on getting the smoke out, but what Utility did have was put to good use in the end. Double digits for Rain Above. And now Sakura, the ones that are still towards the end of their rope. They're the ones who are under pressure, under threat.
Under the microscope right now are Sakura, who have given a lot of argument for us to believe that they've got a real-world scenario that they take their opponent's map choice, but it's not really gotten that same way in the second half. This one, 5 versus 4, you cannot let it falter. Smoke that goes deep, they can still see over and around it. There's not really going to be enough room for them to deny that. Eventually, they'll have thrown just about as much utility as they have in their back pocket. Still 2 smokes left. But over that op scope, sight lines, Cobalt can't get the next kill, but will be able to fall. I didn't think they'd survive that engagement.
Yeah, I think they're really lucky to survive that engagement. Actually a cool flash, but unfortunately doesn't blind Louis' position. Does more damage. Oh, and it's Swayu, who will pick up a double. Serendipity on the lurk. She's the last woman standing. And unfortunately for her, collecting this bomb is priority number 1. 40 seconds. No eyes on CTs immediately. Sway, who's scurried back off to the B site proper.
Huge from Swayu. Again, that B site is their domain, but this clutch I will not in the slightest say is over. There are players that they can pick apart. They can just get themselves into this A site with a clean kill. There may be something beautiful to discuss. Plant inside the smoke, though, will have been heard, and Dave is not left. True. An anchor. That moment. Not letting any unnecessary map control go unattained. We're in a tie game where, I mean, I don't know if I can say that I wasn't expecting to be, but I think going into this map with not a crazy amount of expectations, I didn't think it would be a tight-knit affair going full regulation.
I mean, after those 2 serendipity clutches, you're just thinking, okay, well, yeah, that's the game.
It did feel like that. It felt like that there was all the right people in the right places for Rain Above, and when that goes wrong 2 times over, I mean, how can the normal rounds go, you know?
But Rain Above have shown a lot of ability just to put that behind them. Going to be an execute here towards A. Keep it simple for Sakura. Really nice timing on the counter utility, though, already. They're going to get another bit on. I don't know why Louis dropping, though. That's a little bit of a giveaway. Stave will go 1 for 1. Sarah still alive. Sway rotation comes in for a double, and Cobalt will shut him down. Yeah, he's had some insane step-up performances in the second half. Multi-kills after multi-kills.
Well, this is going to be one that stings for Sakura. The long-term timeout taken. It looks like their first 3, unless it counts backwards.
No, it's backwards.
So this is their second then, okay. No better time to take it.
It's different on every HUD.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of annoying. It's not anybody's fault. I do get both ways. Usually it says timeouts remaining, so I guess that should have been my hint.
True.
Didn't say that, so taking time to talk, involving what no longer a coached Sakura, as we mentioned, right? Ink's in the chat.
That's right.
I don't know if they got a new coach or something like that. I don't know if they have somebody in the interim by any means, but I am not made aware of it.
So.
Yep. See how effective they are.
I mean, that's a change over a year that Ink was with them. Goes to a semi-final and a top 4, or a grand final and a top 4 Impact Finals. Louis, big double kill. CX is able to post up 1. That's further yard control. Louis out of nowhere. Still going to be able to track STX through smoke. Now Alice needs a refrag, but that refrag isn't coming. And so Louis on for an ace to close this map out, to get Rain Above back into this thing. And he got it. Louis with an ace to close things out on Nuke. Rain Above pick into it, down 8-4 at the half. 2 clutches from Serendipity. Thought Rain Above were out, but no. A team effort to take them over the line. They will win 13-11 on Nuke.
Yeah, that is a ridiculous result. I mean, Rain Above, they could not be any happier about that. That has got to be such a breath of fresh air, a sigh of relief from what was a little bit of a chokehold being put upon them on scenarios where they should be on top of every given 1 versus 1 on every given conversion, but simply don't show that level that they would have required, as mentioned in the green room, that this would be a map they need in order to get into this series out the gate. And although it's not pretty, the win is the win, and the reset on coming for map number 2, Vincent.
Yeah, I really think it's got to be a little bit of a reset for Sakura when you go from 11-6 up to 5 straight losses. I mean, it's just gonna hurt. It's just gonna really hurt, and that's the situation that they stand in right now. Really impressed though with Rain Above's resiliency. I think Sueyu had some insane performances on the CT side, and obviously some big impact moments across the board. But Louis, an ace to close is always going to feel good for the new captain.
Well, I mean, we're going to be going into what will be a intermittent break here, as we're going to be ready for our next map and see if there's anything on the docket for a return to form from a little bit of a drown out from Sakura. We'll be right back.
Well, map 1 didn't exactly go to plan for Sakura. They had an 11-5 lead. Unfortunately, weren't able to close from there. You tag in the second map. It's Mirage, and to be fair, Sakura picked it, but it's shaky showing for both of these squads on Mirage. But most recently for the Rain Above squad, they smashed Notorious in their first lower bracket game, 13-5 this map.
Yeah, I mean, look, the talking point of Mirage is always going to be one where, come on any given day, you might be able to, so long as you're not, like, you know, throwing caution to the wind and just forgetting nades, anybody can really come out swinging hot in the beginnings of a game like that. You know, setting the pace is going to be a big deal as well for Sakura as a team that is known to do so on this map in particular. You look towards Empathy on the T side, and that's where they're going to begin. So you're going to be looking at maybe a little bit of aggression on the rifle rounds straight up onto the catwalk staring down Khan, maybe a little bit of an opening spawn towards B that she will take. Very noticeably, I think that that's something as to one of her opening moves that teams have caught on to. It's whether or not the Rain Above now are going to be thinking about doing anything of that nature, or if they're going to be playing their own game.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Sakura, I think that, like, at the beginning of the second half, they were doing well with that. There was a lot of moments where you were really, you know, enjoying what that looked like for them. But then it was very much a matter of Rain Above catching on, kind of getting an idea of what they wanted to do. And I felt like Sakura really didn't have that second gear to shift into. Yeah, that's been the hard part. I mean, looking at the Sakura stats here for the last 3 months, it's pretty ugly. It was a, what is that, triple overtime win against FlyQuest Red. That was the victory that they had, the 1 out of 6 matches played here. But then they got dominated by lag, 13-6 for that Zomblers. Like, it just hasn't been a pretty show on this Mirage, even though it's one of their most played maps. I mentioned that in their advanced season, I mean, they actually played it against Rain Above, to be fair. Both teams had a different lineup, so
sure,
you know, don't take that too much. But Sakura did win that game. That was right at the beginning of the advanced season in January.
5 players to go through right now. It's going to need to be the breakdown. Trying to get this P250 a little bit active. Going to be out ramp and pretty quickly melted, as a matter of fact. Players on the back sides are still going to be swinging even more and more deep into what is a bit of an ugly mess that they try and every turn break down any member of Raid Above. They're just ready and raring for them on the run even in the last. What a statement.
Yeah, that is ridiculously dominant. I mean, Dave as well. That tap from Spawn was beautiful. Sarah, a couple of Coolies kills coming through, and then the Cobalt clicks. Just so easy. Clean with it. Rain Above getting themselves the CT pistol on Mirage, and I feel like Sakura just barely even getting to do anything there. With a little extra cash, will afford a dig. Lock mode time, though. Otherwise, Sakura, low amount of kills, and the bomb plant will do that to you, though.
Yeah.
Little quick Astralis stack-esque situation down there in Underpass. 4 Glocks will get a kill.
Certainly pretty nice. They can't actually get a top of it, though. I don't know how that second kill transpired because we didn't quite get to see it, but I mean, we'll hear the shot from around the world. That Desert Eagle giving us a look in now. Rediscovery once more. 2 players pincering from Con and from Windows. See nobody home, and this is going to be Swayu, who is known to be able to hit a couple multi-frags over on that last map in undesirable positions and situations. This one, I would say, is more than likely where they get to. It's going to be a matter of crosshair displacement, decision-making as to where they look to send it. That's an ugly adjustment, but one that still gets them exactly what they were looking for, the pair.
Yeah, but it's still a bomb plant, very likely. More damage done. Louis somehow not going to win any of those fights. That is devastating. Sympathy swings. Dave, now a 1v3. Obviously no Kevlar for any of these Sakura members, and just where that came from. Locked eyes on at least the second member. on the bench, but Alice will get in position. It is Empathy with a triple kill, and you did talk about Empathy as, you know, a win condition for Sakura on this map, talking about more aggressive stances. Well, that one, it's just via the deagle.
That is, I guess, not even actually close. I was gonna say a taste of their own medicine from the last game, but like, this is even more egregious.
Yeah, it's just ugly from Rain Above.
Gotta give them the same, what's the word? The same respect, though, when I said last time that you kind of just need to forget about it if you're the players, because you carry that over with you into the rest of this map, especially when you have a map up, it's probably going to plague your mind a little bit, like the what ifs. And what if Louis can grab that gun now that mid is clean and clear? He can grab that and carry it over. That's going to be pretty solid. And I would have said maybe even attempted a retake. His teammates had gotten the kill, but he goes down, and now they're not getting it. Damn thing.
Yeah. Felt like Empathy was probably destined to fall there with some deagle spam to the body, but last shot doesn't quite meet the mark, and same true for Louis on Catwalk. Dead in an instant. So Rain Above locked out of this round. Even Sarah just going to be walking away. Just like that, Sakura are immediately back in business. It was really feeling like Rain Above had taken the momentum from Nuke and transitioned that, especially the pistol round with how clean it was, but what a call for them. Unfortunately, they will lose STX in the process. That's a big pickup. Dave now has an AK.
Thankfully that they were able to get that. I mean, it was quite a question as to whether or not there was going to be any exit point for them from that stage. I mean, this isn't going to be a round altering and defining, determining weapon, but maybe, you never know, now that I think about it. But I think positionally speaking, the fact that we see Dave over at B with a good glomerate of his teammates, Sakura having loved to gravitate towards that area, does make a good amount of sense. On the balcony, fast boosted and fastly dispatched of Ava should know that this is a very important piece that they need to play puppy guarding.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate Dave wanting to get aggressive there. I don't necessarily love that they're not going to be able to recover that gun and shuffle it around. That would have been ideal. Well, it's going to walk into the smoke and hope to find an AK, and then he's going to come out empty-handed.
And they're going to attempt at maybe getting back up after the fact. The wall spam, though, it's just thin enough with the penetration of the AK. Will be done for. Good cleanup crew right now from Sakura, where this game could have easily have looked like a reverse score from 3-1 in their favor. Rain Above, I mean, I feel like CT side isn't a half that typically I would be all too worried about taking timeouts on, but I feel like when it comes down to you being a little bit far out of the race, and if you do lose your next rifle attempt head-to-head, having been almost denied chance at your half before it ever really got off the ground, maybe it's worth a talk to try and address their situations. But on the same topic point, like, what are they going to talk about as far as what Sakura have been doing? It's not rocket science.
It's not even like they've been doing anything specific.
Just going B late and taking a little bit of pressure in mid without overcommitting too many bodies.
Yeah, exactly. And even that, I mean, it's not even all that late.
That's something I feel like Louis or somebody should be able to kind of address and assess just in the freeze time alone, though. So let's see how they opt to play it in that regard.
I think it should be as simple as, hey guys, let's either not take individual fights on extremities, or maybe assemble something really aggressive in middle, or some sort of set play early. If you wanted to get aggressive, do it that way rather than let somebody take their own timing.
Yeah, I mean, 2 players in window right now. It's certainly interesting to see what they'll get up to. They're going to actually get into underpass. It looks maybe a little bit more like, no, they're still on the top of
lots of pressure over on A. It's all up to Dave. got to do a whole lot, and he gets nothing at all. It's Empathy on the entry. Sarah only 1 for 1. Great refrag out of Cobalt, and they kept these numbers reasonable. All 3 CTs going to be heading in that direction. I've told a lie. It's actually split up. Cobalt goes back towards middle and 6 in window for the time being.
Okay, a little bit of a misnade there out in the middle of nowhere, meant to burn out the close player. Triple box. Oh, tap onto Louis. Looked like it actually hit him in the head through something. Low point where somebody's going to need to get that next point of contact. And that change of pace is incredible from Sakura on a round like this. They definitely needed it. It looks like it got them into the off guard as they do hit that bomb. It's only the tap. No, it's a full stick. They're going to get on it. They believe that they've killed them, but they've not denied rain above. They pull it back after what was a blind sighting on the A site.
Very fortunate thing that they get away with that defuse inside the smoke. Because Cobalt was, for me, a little too slow on this approach. I mean, he's late coming back in. And by the time he gets there, there's no one. Actually, or rather, he couldn't have played defender to the defuse. So, I think fortunate that Sakura couldn't track down the diffuser inside the smoke, and that they thought the diffuser was already dead initially.
Ooh.
Oh, even did Sir Sarah approach that fight?
I think he just swung stairs there.
Alice was... Never mind. Alice was boosted. I'm like confused.
Nope. Okay, we did a little bit of an exchange-a-rooney. Empathy kills out the cat player, pulls out a smoke, and looks to give them alleyway into A, but there is a player on their back line that they've not fully accounted for. There is somewhat of a clear, a hole, a burst, and trying to pull them out into the open, and it works! Empathy a second, with no one yet to show. They're still in mid. Sir Sarah, what the hell? I thought he was a T, and so did they likely. He's somehow gotten himself right up against the Opper, who's not in the slightest aware of his spot in space.
Oh man, if that nade had gone into connector instead, Empathy dead for sure, but instead, she only goes down to Cersei's AK instead of the HE. Serendipity on the board, but it's going to have to be 3 kills in this 1v3 clutch attempt. Roll it back over towards Nuke. These guys separated a little bit, though that is going to complicate matters. Sway will confirm. Yeah, the bomb being dropped there really does not make it easy for Empathy, even though she's getting a ton of work done over in A.
That's Sir Sarah kill. That is like, I don't know where they were playing prior to Alice. Did they zoom preemptively and walk around maybe?
You know, I don't know. I mean, Sir Sarah is who traded places with Empathy when the like connector walk happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. You think Empathy came out on top of that exchange? You would imagine, you know, the likelihood of that being the case versus Sir Sarah.
Yeah, but the bomb as well becomes the bit that they didn't really at least plan for.
He's gotta be very ready for this.
Gotta be. But how ready is he going to actually be? This is quite explosive,
Nice.
but they're just gonna swing on that. Sway you. Anti-flash. This is lovely. Cobalt nails his shot on the fallback, and now even gets further vision. Beautifully handled as it stands. Empathy will survive the nade, but Cobalt won't, and now Sway all alone, but safe pair of hands for Swayu. This rain above will take a lead.
Easily has to have the most CT side multi-kills of any player in this best of 3 so far.
Not even close.
Not even close. That is just crazy to me. How often we see Swayu as an integral part of these defenses, literally every single round it feels like, no matter where they go. And as a B player stationary, maybe not the anchor, but even still, that is not an easy feat. There's their lead. Right back. I mean, they were looking for this a lot sooner on this map, but in the point of contact at the second end, this first half, I mean, if they can continue on their pathway towards success and glory, then it'll probably just be like a long forgotten bad dream that second round they'd lost.
That's a big if, though, to be honest. I mean,
This round is kind of
road
ugly.
bump. Yeah, that road bump of 3 rounds is a pretty big one. It's a hefty bump, if you will. Yeah, I'm with you, though. Weaponry-wise, a little bit lackluster. Maybe a sprint up
Empathy
middle
up, Cat.
as
I
well.
called it.
Yeah, you did. Oh, but Cobalt, Louis, with getting one. Way once again on the B side. This time it's no double kill. Louis comes flying in on Catwalk, and it's maybe a little preemptive. 2v2. Cobalt and Dave both going to be coming through in the same direction as market side is where they will move.
Cobalt can burn out one of these spots potentially. Now, that might be the move, but they're going to go peak and kind of dry, both parties, and they're going to win it out just based on that and that alone.
I'm not loving that.
They were
approach from
actually...
Sakura.
They were so ready for that play from Empathy on Cat. I think that they might have actually been prepared for that. And I asked earlier on if they'd be playing their own game or if they're trying to maybe look into that fact. They might try to use their spears as entryway. And, dude, they throw that top mid smoke and play amidst it with there already being a point in contact for Empathy to be a little bit preoccupied with.
Listen, I think that you asked that question for really good reason at the beginning of this on the desk, but it's because you don't even really have to do much anti-stratting, quote unquote, you know, for that to be something that you're watching out for. Empathy's just such an explosive player for this Sakura roster that, you know, if she's feeling it, then she's gonna go for plays like that, and it's really a question of not if but when.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And, you know, I think that it'll also be one of the very few moves they have to pull out right now. Like, pulling out all the stops really doesn't entail very much more. Blindness or Sarah, finding two, should be an easy one for them to just say, all right, next round, GG. And it certainly is. Full 4K action.
Yeah, great work for Sarah. Not to knock Dave while Rain above her up, but he's been quietly having a bit of a struggle here as the A anchor. We see that maybe rectify itself.
I think it's somewhat interesting to have Louis and Dave on this team in particular, and I think the core of Rain Above is showing their worth right now. Pre-existing Triad.
Was Louis previously in IGL?
That I do not know. I think he might have done it on Might at some point, like some stage they were doing the good old tossing it around deal.
I agree with that. That's probably true. I don't know. I just was thinking about that when prepping for this game, that I wasn't like thinking of him as an IGL by default. Eva has quietly pulled this back with that kill, and then STX locking down a trade beforehand. We're looking at Rain Above, who had a 5-on-3, now looking at a 3-on-3. Towards A. Serendipity. It's lurking in that direction. Rain Above. Don't yet know where Sakura are going, because Sakura haven't made that decision yet.
It's going to be Ava just kind of sitting, hoping her top mid teammate in STX can get close and that there will be contact meaningful from Serendipity for them to act on. To see that actually be true, though.
Now the Opto is locked in on Serendipity's position. It's going to be tough for her to be first contact.
I suppose. I don't really think it would be all that unreasonable to ask for a peek up towards topside con. Now it's been mollied, so they don't even really need to worry about Cobalt in that fashion. It's going to be kind of tough for the riflers also to justify getting a top of these guys, but I guess Dave will just take matters into their own hands. That's a very risky maneuver. Oh, and one that receives them a nade in response.
Yeah, but Sway, he was the only high HP player. He's now dead. But STX, really not the opera. She's going to miss the first shot, but Dave will get across. There's not a lot of health, 2 HP. Dave talked about some struggles. Well, here would be the makeup for it. Kit currently, no ability to clutch that out as Ava wins the one-on-one for Sakura. Come back alive.
Was Louis IGLing the Take Flight roster he was just a part of? He might have been. It was it's him or Jared, surely. And it's Chris. I think it was
Wasn't Panic on that team?
yeah, Panic. And then 5th player. He was Drop.
Huncho?
I think it was Drop. I think Drop replaced Huncho, actually, even.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, he might have.
It's gotta have been Louis. It's gotta be.
Yeah. I say that not to doubt him, just that, I was, when I was thinking like possible replacements for Colin on this Reign Above team, he wasn't like the first option in my brain as like, in-game leader.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
That's all.
Well, now, I mean, it looks pretty capable at this stage how they've set themselves up. They're already at the tie of the half, no matter the fact. And Alice on the sniper rifle. In combating Cobalt has not been all so simple. Cobalt's been having a game where I haven't really actually seen very many of his kills. It's usually been like one here and there, but still regularly, consistently finding damage and kills. This round, going to be he who starts things out. I believe the proceedings coming from the connector player and Dave, who... No, not Dave. Who was it? Who's that next to him? Louis, who let that one fly?
Yeah.
AG is chunky.
You know what's crazy?
What?
I think that Alice this is her first op. So like she's had no opportunity to counteract that.
Like Eva?
Yeah, first time this map that is. Oh, and the bait setup as well is going to work brilliantly. Dave gets his, though Sarah can't offer up the same. Well, rotating in, but ooh, that molly. Fortunately, not going to spread too deep. Yeah, she's hearing that. Spotted. The bomb goes down. Alice, critical post plant positioning too. If she gets back over to the ramp side, which she will, this is beautiful. 2 kits. There's smoke. There's so much utility. That's the problem.
Problems arise now as they can just get a top of it even when blinded. STX should not have any shot. Both of them miss out initially. Round still overturned to the CTs. Dave, who you kind of called out a little bit earlier for not necessarily having a bad game by any means, but not really playing to the utmost of their capabilities as the A-side anchor. I think that this is starting to see a little bit of a resurgence in that form that you were calling for.
Oh, 100%.
Almost immediately after you said it, actually.
I mean, he almost had that, what is it, 1v3? And gave them a chance to win a round that they probably were nowhere close to win otherwise. And a lot of moving pieces in that last round, pivoting from the early middle attack into the insert at ramp. He's doing a really good job of covering his bases there. More than just the tied scoreline, it could be more than that. Reign Above could be putting together an 8-4 half, just like Sakura did. CT side of Nuke.
Well, hold on now, near and dear to whatever guns they got. Out through mid, bottom con. But scaling from 2 players, not going to be met with any pushback. Louis, not really hearing very much of anything either. Just going to be looking to keep them on their toes. The A site still stacked. They're not all that impressed with how the window control has been coming over, or the lack thereof. Louis sustaining significant damage in the early stages of this round without actually having taken any duels, though. And that's where I'm a little bit worried.
Right then, CX just falls. That's straight up smoke spam. So Sarah throwing that through, and now Empathy feeling the same pressure. Sarah got to be careful. Not a lot of extra ammunition in that A1S. Well, you got Cobalt sitting and waiting. Louis activates, so 21 health was no problem for him. And now it's Ava and Alice. 2v5. JK, 1v5.
JK? No! I was going to say 0v5. Cobalt almost gives it up the game, but still very much so ready to see more from Reign Above. They end this half again. Double the round count of their opponent, but actually, no, it's the inverse. Sakura did it last time around. We'll see if they can convert those in 2.
victory after they have doubled up the round count of Sakura on the first half. Their CT side going swimmingly. 8-4 into the second half, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in a little bit of a pickle as to what I think that the necessities for Sakura are going to be for them to come around again. Themselves with Empathy and STX on a bit of a bait and switch setup. Empathy's going to break that and walking forwards all the way on and beyond. I'm on Sway You. Not going to die out, though. Bit of a panic pull left and right. Going to see them miss out on all opportunity in Chanceway. STX not so much, though. That's a good adjustment onto the next of them. I loved to see the drag scope shot up top of the dome. The last two players, one of them in the red, and Serendipity just playing a perfect game of denial of info in space. Louis, he's got himself cut out for a 1 versus 3.
He's only got a couple of bullets in there. Yeah, gonna get the reload off.
Oh,
It's right here, and he knows that that's the fact. Serendipity will pull out the clutch again. She's been so good in late round scenarios for Sakura. Otherwise a little bit quiet, though, on this Mirage as she delivers. Yeah, that is 2 beautiful headshots from STX. Sakura ready and waiting to take their ticket on the second half pistol. No bomb plant either. I'm like thinking back. Has anybody gotten a bomb plant on the pistol? I don't think so.
I can't quite recall.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure no.
First one, definitely not. I don't remember the outcome of the second. But we're going to be going over into mid right now and just heading into the meat grinder. Easy does it. Nice little 4K from one gun. Alice going to be making it work out well. Distance they've been able to reserve. That's be time to turn up. Lack thereof, the bomb plant you were talking about isn't going to be so simple so soon, as they've gotten only a couple of flashbangs Vincent casts. 2 total. Louis the one who's going to be directing them in that regard.
Yeah, this is a little bit tough. Louis, he's over in mid too, so like the A side of this execute is flashbang less. Just contact initially. Cobalt sees Nada. Molly doesn't spread to the top balcony player. Smoke will go up as well. Shots fired, though, and Alice still delivers her 1. Empathy activates as the mid prong of that attack succeeds. Empathy will survive for a second kill, but it's STX on an MP7. Too far away. Though she is in front of that Molly. Ticked in it. Not going to be heard, but now seen.
Incendiary lands at her feet, pushing her even further into connector, no less. And no util to talk about any further for these offenders. They're just going to be holding for one another. Stairs crossed initial, and the next, not head down, actually a little bit heads up at default, if nothing else. And out they will go. They've already wrapped the sight of box now, not showing full vision, but that should be it, as they're not in the slightest worried about spawn side, and that will be their undoing. A little bit of BM even there from Swayu, who finds 2, 6-9. Do they buy? I'm not really sold on either saving or buying at this stage, though, when you feel like you're getting a little bit pressed upon the jugular and it's harder to breathe. I feel as if alleviating some of your own issues financially might be the best move now. I don't think they need to win around right now. I think they just need to make it their best odds of doing so, but they disagree.
Yeah, I think you can get enough on this buy that it's pretty ridiculous not to purchase. Fortunately, STX is going to be from the sidelines. That connector smoke's just not quite on the money, and so Empathy and Alice both have vision over the top.
Their B-side anchor is already out of nades.
Yeah, to be fair, it wasn't for a lack of nades to begin with. It actually had full utility.
Oh.
But Empathy is all the way constant aggression. She's even looking for Dave to make that jump. Swayu, though, that's on the A side of the map. Was Palace There's that swing. Louis. Molly perfectly placed onto Serendipity. Even gets spotted. Empathy has arrived. Double swing. Oh, that was so beautifully handled. Louis and Cobalt swinging one off of another.
Oh, that bomb planter, though, he's going to get run through. Serendipity doesn't get them before the just punched it in, but look, they're so low on health that Dave is just going to have to hope that they get their back turned. It's fortuitous to him that there's a player in Palace, though. I mean, that's going to make it a little more easy. They're just dodging these bullets, weaving between them, and it's a flash that was meant to set up Swayu, but it doesn't quite work out that way. This defusal should be easy. There's already a 10-second stick, but hold on, they get off it in just one more try. It will work out well, even with the kit recovered from Ava.
Yeah, that was a little bit hairy just because of the fact that, you know, they didn't have the kit on it. Dave able to jump off, not only hit the kill, but then recover the kit.
That kill from
becomes
Empathy.
a big deal. I mean, Empathy, all throughout this round, actually, I feel like even though she only gets that one kill, it's really imperative the way that she's moving, getting both from the initial fight in middle, backup connector, and not for Cobalt and Louis with some really nice double swing tactics there. Probably gets even more. Talked about how important it was, though, for Sakura to get a win right then and there. Part of it is Reign Above's economy gets reset.
Seeing that this one has been melted before they even get off the balcony, the majority of them, the bodies laid down. Only just feet beyond what would have been a plant. They don't get to cross into CT territory. That back sight theirs to hold, cherish. Reign Above looking to make something work now. Hang up once again. A gun by. It has Serendipity taking the hit for those around her. 7 up against fully cut and equipped. Offensive, only sub Louis on a Galil, but he won't be complaining. 8, only a half a second later, maybe would have actually have landed right on his dome.
Reign Above worried about mid control first and foremost. Round 18. Only have Swayu out on extremities. 2 players down. Looking through underpass. Controlling that area of the map. And STX finds the timing. I don't even know how Cobalt was quite seen there. STX offers up another. And then Alice can swing from window. This has all gone wrong so quickly. Reign Above, even as Dave shuts down Empathy, there is nothing left.
Swayu's time to try and play the breakdown, and Serendipity again getting use out of that SMG. Reign Above again. Falling before they get over where they want to be. First phase of each of these T-side rounds is really just getting blown out of the water at the snap of your fingers. Dave not prepared for there to be a tucked player topside of Con. STX for their third. They do not abandon their post. We're tied up once more. Once Reign Above had gotten the body spam from Swayu. That's where it all started to go downhill. I'm not saying nothing, but pointing out the fact.
You know, I think Reign Above, it was right when, we'll just say, their backs were up against the wall on Nuke that they really came alive. Starting to get to that point. Looking at these Deagles, unlikely to provide a victory here. But I want to be careful to doubt Deagles at this point.
Getting in towards connector where their smoke has then faded. STX only for a second maybe in danger as they jiggle with a shoulder then wide. It only exposes the position of the P250 ultimately though, and that nade is a sinker. Heat seeking onto Dave. It's all those who will die around him before he even gets found. Just a second longer, maybe, if he had it. The head may have been taken from the shoulders of the top mid player to get over the bomb. Swayu's looking to do the same, but only one of those players are going to be able to do so, I feel. I reckon.
I reckon you might be right. I feel like STX has been the bait half the time in this round. Whew. Happy to do that, I'm sure, when the outcome is 5 survivors. Fat stack of cash for Sakura to fall back on as they build up a big economy. D-side starting to feel a little bit like it's falling to pieces here for Rain Above. Couple of gun round losses in a row. And getting nowhere on those ecos really doesn't help. Fortunately, a little tech pause here. But it's Cobalt who consistently has taken less or no utility just to get an AWP out, but it's had little impact. I feel like in this half.
Gonna be looking the future right now of map number 3, maybe, you know, that Inferno. Gotta start thinking about it if you're gonna be slapped out of another rifle round compounding. Serendipity is like significantly more quiet than I thought, but like I made note of it, kind of sort of the touch of the last round, that like every financial decision that requires somebody to be a little bit stiff, it seems like it's her every time, for one.
Yeah.
You know, positionally also maybe not very easy to utilize that weaponry. And you're playing one of the most high impact spots, or at least it looked like they were at connector a couple times over. Then switching it back up to B.
No, they're the A anchor.
Oh, the A anchor.
At least have been.
Oh, that was STX and Con. I apologize.
Yes, that's right. I believe that it's been Ava over at Beam.
Yeah. STX is the one who I was actually thinking. Even then, that's actually even weirder as Serendip. Oh, yeah, the A-site anchor who walked out on the spawn player. Yeah, I mean, I guess they've been making do with what they've had, but even then, kind of tough. Especially after what we were witnessing back over on Nuke.
Yeah, but still being able to, you know, have that impact in the clutch moments as well.
Yeah, elevating their team in any way possible.
One of those 6 kills is the 1v1. Out of the tech pause into the fire. The Rain Above is they need to get fired up. This is essentially for all the marbles, I feel. Maybe more accurately, a loss here really sets them back and probably pushes us to Inferno.
Rifle scoped out in A whilst mid is under search and seizure. There's Serendipity getting active. And there's them getting right up in the faces of their opponents. That is quite the snapshot reaction from Swayu, though. Surprised that they're alive after the first 2 fights. There's another one to overcome. Up on this angle, not anymore required, seeing as the riflers have held the line towards Palace with a spam and a free B little kill. Yeah, they'd probably love to be positionally switched right now, with Louis being the one on the front side with flashbangs from Cobalt, but he's just got to set himself up now, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say, how do you ever even get the bomb down in some situation like this? Smokes are fading. Louis 1v4. Alice working an off angle, and Alice will pick up 3 total. As the Sakura victory rings in again. Yeah, I think that Rain Above are about to be rocking up to Inferno. That's where I'm at.
Throwing it back to the last set of timeouts they got. They can use one more if they so please after this one is to expire, but only so much talking will get you so much good, seeing as your buys are running dry. This one and Eco, they can take the time to discuss this one in particular, and should they lose it, take another. Be more in tune and intact with A47s that they look to put in possession, but this would be a big one. This would be beyond big, really. Nothing that would reset Sakura by any meaningful measure, and I don't think that'll happen by the ends of the map in any capacity, but extending your life period before you're playing up against map point, needless to say, more than ideal. Smoke and Molly combination going to be coming over on side of mid for the T's and nobody beyond it. But A, where once it burning has subsided, that they will look to get a little closer, inching in towards Palace, if nothing else. Serendipity run over, traded, kind of, sort of. The spray through that smoke looks solid, but they can't get off the box, and still stands Alice.
Still looking to do more.
Wow.
But it will be Empathy to take them both out. Got a couple of frags in that. Going to be hers. You know, and a pretty key difference, I feel like, from Mirage versus Nuke. I mean, Empathy not having a bad Nuke, I don't think. I don't remember what the stat line was, but you know, I just feel like a ton more impact from Empathy on this Mirage. 12-9. You know, we were talking about essentially last chances and, you know, these kinds of storylines. Well, there's nothing like that here. It's win or go to Inferno or Reign Above, and they need to do that 3 times just for OT.
In this game pushed to full regulation already once before, though, haven't we? So I'm not gonna give out a couple of patterns to show themselves and rear their little heads around the corner on Mirage just the same. A has 3 stacked, and it kind of looks like they want to go looking through to some extent, but they won't actually have to if Reign Above kind of give away their own play. They extend their hand out in middle. Empathy will hear that. Also hear the player in lower in a second as they throw a piece of utility of their own, a pair of which actually... Why does Empathy stick around for this? Might be a little overzealous. I think that Molly missed, actually. I think it burnt them back. Them now having to fight through Empathy as well as through the apartments. One of the 2 of them must break and bend, and it looks like the first of them will, but there's still so many who are ready to hot trot. But this is not the best gun for this scenario, or maybe it is. Playing around the pillars, peak after peak. They can't just go dry swinging, and they know that, but there may be no other option here, Vincent.
Oh, man. Reload doesn't ever come through, and so Alice and STX, they convert at the same time. Sakura on Mirage, they pick it out, and they go for the win. 13-9. The CT half had a little bit of a rougher beginning. When they found their footing, they never looked back.
Yeah, that's super smooth. That's the kind of individualism, the kind of game taking over play from Empathy, I think, in particular, that we were expecting, but supplemented by a couple of other members who were able to, at the very least, give them the room to work. I mean, look at mid on T and CT sides, where it didn't start out like that. It certainly rounded out over time that she was ready, and honestly and truthfully, maybe even just like elevated beyond any other expectation that Reign Above could put upon her in the duel she was taking on the back ends of smokes or just straight up through them.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, talking about the individuals that kind of were supplementing that. I mean, I think Alice had a really impressive couple of multi-kills on that CT side. STX actually earlier in the second half in Connector was, I think, doing a lot of really good work. Ultimately, you know, Sakura pushing this towards an Inferno. That's where we look to decide this. Remember, elimination on the line here. You know, this is high stakes. There is nothing below this when you're in the lower bracket. So we'll be looking towards Inferno. We're going to take a break, and on a return, it's the conclusion. Reign Above versus Sakura. So why not? It's Inferno that is required to decide the victor here, with Reign Above and Sakura each taking their own map selection, and I think a little bit more dominantly for Sakura as they close things out at the end in a pretty strong fashion. But nonetheless, still got to say, Inferno, where are you standing? What do you think the outcome here is as we get to this final map?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's kind of a toughie when you look at any of the maps, it feels like, in this series, as far as what expectations go or to be concerned. If we're going to be looking towards the side of Sakura, who have just now taken us to this third map, who've just pushed us past beyond their limits. The last time they'd played out was against Lag, and that one was a stomping. It was a very, very strong Lag at that, though, and that's worth mentioning, but it was yesterday, and it's very, very recent as well, and we're talking about the one before that, about a month change, or maybe actually a little less than a month at this point, against Aether, where they would lose against them in a close affair there. And if you're looking at individuals, kind of how we were on Mirage, I think that Empathy being in a hot form is a really, really good point to make going into that, because they're a player that as an X factor is going to be necessary for them. And I want to know that I've said about only one of these two teams what you think of Reign Above is Inferno and the inverse.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you asked that. I mean, we just got a peek at the stat line, right? It's not very pretty. Just one victory here for the Reign Above side on that. And you talked about a close loss to Aether. Dude, they got blown out by Aether.
Yep.
13-5, and that was just a couple of days ago in the upper bracket game. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it gets any better if you're looking at things from the Reign Above perspective. At least they're playing this Inferno more often. If I were to, like, try to find a little bit of a thread of positivity to touch on, but it's been 4 losses straight. The last time they won it was, I mean, at the very beginning of the year at Frag Miami, and they played against Kraken Seas, which, yeah, I mean, listen, that's a team that with some experienced players, but I just wouldn't expect that team to, you know, be winning against Reign Above at any point. So, yeah, this is sort of an ugly Inferno across the board.
Yeah, I think that Inferno is going to maybe be a little bit of a bloodbath here. I think that we've chalked it up to be that. I feel as if there are two teams now who have shown some of their best, some of their worst, some of their turnarounds, some of their points in crumbling. I think we've gotten a lot of range from both Reign Above and Sakura here, whereas we're not really leaving our maps with an unexpected scoreline in the closing. You know, they take their map picks at the very least, but you know, if you actually watch back and see the fashion it was done, that was what was the most curious point part in play. The knife round important on the decider, though, as this is the only map that there isn't going to be a team on a side off the spawn.
You know what's funny? I really, looking at like both sides of this equation, obviously not a huge amount of data to go on for Sakura, but both these teams struggling on the CT side of their Infernos, the maps that they have played of it. So potential to talk about a CT side, and I think whoever is going to be able to do a little bit better on the CT side likely to take it over. Oh, what is this, a Mexican standoff? What are we doing? That was sick.
It's the wall. And
They'll walk forward slowly.
yeah, that's definitely one way of doing it. That's how we do our knife rounds as well. We line up as 5 and shift walk forward.
I hope it goes better than that, because they got destroyed.
Usually it doesn't.
Maybe, Coach Tony, you need to find a different strat for the knife round.
We have a knife round demo review coming up this week.
Good.
That's not a joke either.
Maybe I can sit in and learn something.
You're a lost hope.
What?
But
I just want to know.
nope. We're gonna cast this game instead, I've decided. Sorry, dude.
I guess that is what we're here for. Yo, this is a fast move down mid.
Melting. Glocks are sending iron through the skulls, and Empathy feels as if they've got some responsibility to peek, and maybe one too many. 2 versus 2 has been the wayside. There is one on Wrap. Ava is fast, loud, and may just be heard at some point in this, and they're being methodical about their clears, so they've gotten that going for them, but nobody on those angles is the problem.
Now it's Crossfire too. Cobalt and Dave have this really well set up. Even a flash as well, though maybe not needing to take that contact. Dave will take the fight after Cobalt takes the peek. Reign Above Fist around victors once again.
Take that. Bang on the money. And being ready for whatever Sakura are to throw their way. And we can see that they haven't really strayed away from that aggressive play style that we know them so well for. It's continuing onwards. The variation, very little. And on a pistol round, there's only so much you can do.
I think it's kind of interesting, the lack of force buys in its entirety for like a second round across the board. Now, on the T side, when the CT side has won the pistol, mostly because there's been no bomb plans, but like, even the CT sides here deciding not to force buy pretty often, which I think is kind of interesting. I feel like it's actually not been the majority of what I've been seeing, though granted, I've been stuck in South America a lot, so,
Yeah.
you know, regional differences and such.
Look, walls.
I don't know if you
Where's that?
experienced that, where like you're watching just one region for like a week or two. Can't tell if there's some meta change happening or if it's just something happening in that region.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I was doing anything other than South America predominantly, so these games are really the only ones that I'm getting and just kind of peppered in, but I see a lot of the same stuff, or at least a good number of it, but a little bit more refined, I would say, given that the top side of CCT is teams that are, you know, salaried professionals.
True.
But here, still very much so looking to give it a peek on to try and get some additional kills. I mean, this wasn't a force buy, so they can afford to throw these guns away for fun and for free. Try and get a little bit of additional, I guess, money in the long term or force reinvestment. Alice Roar to run it on towards the site. A tap to the bomb may pull somebody back. That'd be funny. I don't think that they'll imagine that they'll even have time, even if the kit was on this person, but there goes above to yet another win. The one barely take a scratch. Was probably to be expected in the first place. Now all the chips are on the table.
Yeah, that SMG actually getting the kill on Alice means a lot, because now she can afford an op, and sure, Ava's the one on an MP9, but big deal as Alice will start towards the B-bomb site. 3-2, but it's the stack towards A. It's the heavier factor. STX just throwing some initial utility down Banana, gonna let Alice hold a really passive approach. They let Rain Above have whatever they would like with regard to top Banana control.
This brackets they take. Nothing really being back except for that singular incendiary until they want to go for a flying on duel. Somebody will have had to have been dedicated for that to have mattered, but they let it loose. But so too does they op get unleashed over B. To get around this corner, we'll be needing a quick hopping in. The rifle not going to be able to make the spray work, even though they weren't actually looking at them in their direction. That's problematic. So too is the fact that CT smoke is non-existent. They're going to need to dedicate another.
Pop that in. Empathy comes out over the top, and, well, a good initial spray, but she gets lost in the sauce. Louis and Dave left alone. This is still such a winnable scenario as a refresh smoke goes for CT. Gonna make life a little bit more difficult for Ava. She has a flash set up. This could be perfect. Actually dropped the nade first, follow that up with the flash, but Ava doesn't get through with the nade, so contact, likely for Dave. It's actually the first shots fired by Louis, but alone it's Dave, and Serendipity will win her duel. It's Sakura on the move for the first round, off the back of some solid shots from Alice. A bit of a team effort as most everybody gets involved.
It's always a good feeling when everybody's starting to turn on, and you know if your rounds posted, it might feel even better. You don't have to point the finger in any one direction to try and give it exemplary performance after we were a little bit more leaning in the direction of empathy, if no one else. Alice Roar on the op. Their chance at it with pistols at a distance, but like they're going to be giving her the time of day. Not out the gate. Even then, finding 2 kills, I don't know how the hell that's going to be allowed, but sitting with more than enough rifles that surround her to peek, and peek. Even take that third. It might be against Ecos. It might be against only the one AK-47, but that's going to feel good even when they're already starting to make this one a map of their own.
Yeah. Sarah investing a little bit deeper in order to get this hero AK, but the rest of his team falls flat. He can't even put that to good use. Nalis double. Except a collide even.
A shot. Looks like it's one that will land. Fortune favors the bold.
Bro is sitting for a 1-minute save.
Heck yeah. Dollar matters, dude.
I mean, it does. It's not a disagreement. Just a sad reality. Statement of fact. Sakura happy with letting him survive. I don't even know if he, like, really fired off a shot or two, but the point is, I don't even know if they know he had an AK. To them, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's about building up an economy.
Stacking dough. Pulling together that paper. Two.
My tide.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is already starting to look and shape up like it's going to be one of those that goes deep and long. Wait, pause.
It's already shaping up to be a brawly, drawn-out game.
That's good. That's good. Like that. It's already going to be Mirage that was giving us not a whole lot of answers up until the very end. Nuke, that also felt like it was at the turn of the first half where you and I were on 2 different sides of how we felt it could have been, better or worse for one team or the other. This game, relying heavily on the shoulders of Alice predominantly, sure, but so soon, we're going to start to see maybe false senses of security settle in for Sakura as STX doesn't go fully clearing car. It's going to be a smoke well timed, though.
Yeah, get that utility down. Hold on a moment, because that's going to trigger, looks like a reshuffle of the bodies here on the site. Boost, I believe, is what just went down on Flower Pot. Yeah. Just Ava here. Oh, and she's going to get hit with the better smoke. Locked out of the site are Sakura. They have no impact on the actual exec. Right above, get access.
Plant. It's one player at Archway to here on rotate, but there is another. Serendipity just about as loud, but still looking in their way. We've not baited it on the same second, but the re-aggression will still be pinned. Empathy, ooh, thought that was going to be an exposure. Just a hand, a pinky, not lethal. And they might want to just get out of there. Still have to get through Sway You, though, if they want to get any deeper than just their own spawn.
Yeah, and a nice angle this way You's holding, but should be checked. Well, it was. Only STX just gets no dice there. Empathy will go down. It takes 2 with her. As we were highlighting, Sakura building up a nice economy over the last round or so. Which means that even as they lose 3 bodies, they will still be able to buy the most expensive weapon. Built by Alice will stick and stay alive. But a nice return to form there for Rain Above. I kind of feel like they knew exactly the moves that Sakura were making on B. With the smoke drop and everything like that. They're so confident to just pull the trigger on that exec as soon as the defensive utility gets deployed.
Check timeout. And all that crazy from this so far, but Inferno still with much more to come. I can only imagine that we're going to get these players in peak form as the game goes by. STX yet to find their kill, has more chances up ahead of them. Almost, I would say, in that last round being a pretty big part as to why things go so sour when they go uncleared at car, as I mentioned. I mean, just taking the extra step and a half to get that over would have gotten them a kill just the same. Man advantage with so much then confirmed to them that they thought that Rain Above had more than they did.
Sort of a tale of what could have been. Ooh, always going to be dicey trying to break through that smoke like that. Serendipity shows both Louis and Sueyu why that's the case. No reaction, no recovery. Right above, Sakura. 1-3 advantage is all theirs. We're now here on A. And right above, well, got to recover the bomb, but obviously they're committed.
Yeah, I mean, just tell them that they have to take their duels, that they have to swing on wide, and their CT's all over the place, ready to take on the next. Simply doesn't go their way. Cobalt's in no spot to be any help. And another mutilation of whatever you want to call that take of space from Rain Above. The A-site seems indomitable, barely even able to get over the hump without kills over an archway. And that's just unfortunate, a full spam.
Kinda, but also they were walking through, which I'm not a fan
They did?
of.
I didn't think I saw them. I thought they got shot because they saw them through the smoke.
No, I think they were walking through, but I mean, if that is not the case, then fair enough. But if they're walking through, I don't know. That just it's a big risk. We'll put it that way.
Yes, yeah.
Not a lot of reward to it either, especially when there's no way to set that up when you're in a long, dark hallway. A long haul, one might call it. You know, just hypothetically.
Might be onto something. Say that again.
Long haul. Haul that's long. Yeah, I'm just throwing stuff out there, just thinking.
Definitely with you on that one. Bonamont raid, holy moly. W Bonamont in the chat there with a 201 drop, and viewers, not sure what he was out. He was watching, but I'm sure it was only half as good as this, seeing as now we're on map 3, W. I'm joking. Pressure mounts, you kind of being a little bit more pressured on the point earlier of now this being elimination. I think that'll start to really settle in for the minds of them. They look to get their chunk of change secured, now run over by a pistol that just goes spamming in a spray, and it's Louis who might be light on health, but what he won't be light on is money after he gets this digit punched in, the last one through. This round, still chances, but what a mistimed move that he'll never know he was making because that HE was coming to blow the spawn smoke at the same second.
Yeah, this should be totally retakeable, though. Sarah, maybe just checking in with an AK. Crossfire is pretty good, and time's starting to tick away as well. Hits for Mini. When there's that crossfire, Dave activates, so Sarah gets his. Now Empathy grabbing for 2, and now here's where the time becomes an issue. Empathy, great work defending her teammate, as there was not really time for anyone to get knocked off that defusal. Alice will get away with the defuse whilst Empathy plays defense. 4 kills for her.
Right, all right. This is something. stand on now. Your lead back, regained and recuperated from what was a touch and go round there by the finish, but a 4K will be soothing. They got nothing. We're hoping to make hero out of that one AK-47, as they have attempted before. No chance in it. Hop on that line single. Zoom quick enough. Even still, though, is Alice for yet another opener.
13-2 for
yeah.
Alice. Actually deadly. They asked the question, and I think it was a fair question. They being the people, of course. You know, when you lose Fox, it was such a critical piece of this roster. Under the Comets and under Shimmer, you gotta wonder, like, how to find a replacement. Well, Alice really delivering in some of these games, and this is one of them.
Bang that does meet the eyes, but nobody to peek on beyond it. Just going to be a fear tactic, and one that works well. The nade just about as ineffective, but Alice anything but ineffective in this map thus far. There goes a boost up that may catch their attention off guard. How that pans out, as they do go over. The leg is seen, the adjustment is there, but it will not connect. But now they should know. That's 2 of the 3 already confirmed. The bomb, Arena do a little bit of a QB sneak at B. That is wishful thinking, to say the least.
Yeah, I don't really think that Sakura are going to bite on that. I already got the numbers here. There's no utility to, like, deny information or visuals or anything like that. Yeah, they will not be fooled in the slightest. Alice's op goes down, but Ava will recover it. To be honest, for Rain Above, I low-key think they just need to target this B site consistently until we see something a little bit better from this B hold. Because Rain Above keep getting access on B. It's just the post plants that Sakura have been able to win on. Not exactly been a credible showing from STX and Ava there.
Just a little bit damage as long as they can get through and maybe get some ground, but Sorcera being a threat, a nuisance, is a problem. STX looks to rectify that in any way she can without giving up the site entirely. Then eventually will come empathy. It's a toughie indeed. Well, and Sorcera not being 100% health, especially not after that, next to those nades that could have been much more catastrophic, frankly, is going to still complicate how they can half their entries from here on out, as they're just getting stuffed after smoke after smoke after smoke. There is no more. There's still an incendiary, but they want to battle with it.
Yeah, I appreciate that Sakura just are not giving up on this banana fight, but I think when the smoke fades, probably need to do that. Already preemptively empathy falling back, but STX sticking around. It's dangerous, but a man down. They do need some sort of miraculous play. Sarah is going to check. Really impressive clear, but STX only good for the single. Advantage maintained as empathy comes sprinting back on in. Too little too late. Smoke in her face. And spam ultimately in her life. That is Sakura on for a save. They might not even get that far.
Definitely a toughie. Buy and buy again. Not going to be freaking out at the thought that they're going to be broke anytime soon. So, especially if Serendipity can keep the sniper. Going to be going into a next round where Rain Above finally giving us their pushback on B, getting over the line of just the bomb plant and actually converting in those plant scenarios with weapons galore. Certainly does help, though, when you configure that you're playing up against only one player at max and there's none, so the best of all scenarios comes upon you and falls in your lap. As you mentioned, the good clear on car really does make all the difference, because if there was a double kill for STX to be had, that staggers them, and it also enables the rotation from Empathy for ever so slightly a second longer that doesn't need and require a smoked spam kill.
Little details coming and can be very important. Right above. Been a little bit of a back and forth type of game. Seeming like it's the swing into the rain above direction. Eva. Oh, STX. I don't think she realized she was visible on the other side of that. A really nice refrag out of Ava. It means that above aren't going to be sitting pretty. At least not that man up they started last round with.
Spray, spray, spray. Make much more of the difference, though, until start throwing their nades to hit out on an important sight line. There's a flash, as they have done so many a time previously, just to... I'm a little bit worried that something more may be on its route, but that's got to be a little bit of a... What's the word? A red flag, I think, when they throw that flashbang as many times as they had with nothing that shows after it. Puffing up their chest over on B very clearly.
I mean, the problem is that right above have, like, never been pressuring A at all the entire game, I feel like. Any A pressure going to get a little bit of respect. And still, Ava stays alive. Eventually, the A faker goes down. So right above set up in a post plant. Really big moment for Cobalt, who was just going to drop a smoke. Be scary. Oh, as that flash actually catches both individuals. Louis not ready for the second man to go on in through. Ava keep on swinging, and Alice with a quick flick. It is Sakura looking good on the retake.
Yeah, pretty good move. Thought the banana might be a little bit easier to maintain responsibility of, but that would have been true if there weren't everybody else dying all around inside the site, right? So they don't really have the time to wait after banana gets smoked off for their teammate who's just not able to go leaping and bounding through a smoke to try and find theirs. That would be unwise. Halfway mark. Too near, but not so dear for RA. Tech 9, Act 10, forcing up whatever they got, try and make a competitive round out of the 11th, and here they'll go. Banana control, fought up against and challenged by the sniper of Alice, who's melted straight through the wood. What a spam. And what a play that they were ready for. That smoke a little indicative of what may be around the bend.
Keep it up. Ava steps forward. She had a 3K last round, but it's Empathy to see the first enemy. Sarah will fall, and that nade. Time delivery. Over to Dave. Right above. Stall out, wait a little bit. They've got so much utility, so much time to work with, even above the minute mark at this point. Unfortunately for Sakura, they have left Ava all alone.
This has a very, very different tone on it when that incendiary splinters them away from Swayu. They've got no other form of recourse. They need to go on to this. More smokes, no more mollies, no more nothing. It's only Ava. It's all Ava. Always was burnt, not even once on the tick. That flash won't meet her sight lines, but the spray is difficult when all you really see is the shoulders and up. A retake now might be too much to ask. Next round, the last. They've got okay amounts of cash, but not anything to write home about without maybe one of those two weapons potentially being carried over once again.
Yeah, and if you're gonna save one of them, you might as well try and save both. Looking like Sakura maybe stick around for some exits, but well, not going to do that either. And why not? Yeah, interesting. I mean, STX is mega broke. Give it a little bit more money. Like you said, they're still going to be buying, but really could have used one of those guns.
Give it another go. In that brackets control you were mentioning, they didn't really ever give too much a shot on. It's going to be them trying to do so a little bit more focused on apps to begin with, however, but empathy has been between them. The point in which they'll spread and need to be methodical on wrapping, because if not, then you're going to be left with empty hands, and that's almost actually, I was going to say almost a major problem, but it actually is. The bomb is let loose. There's guns to the ground. There's a player in ult, but even then, now they've gotten themselves full knowledge as to what the rain above move will be, equal to 2.
Sakura going to be walking in with so much utility. They have both kits in play for Sarah and Dave. Not a crossfire, more a double up. Big pit, mini pit. And set up with 2 incendiaries. Feels so deadly. How does it not spread to Sarah? Feels unfair. Should have been perfect, but it wasn't. Sarah not going to be at all removed by the molly. Alice gets on site, but only now figures out that Dave is in mini, and it will be tied up 6 rounds apiece at the half. We're going to take a quick break.
They do not. don't think this series has let up at all. I feel as if this one has only continued to ramp up as we've gone across. And listen, we're at a even split again, Vincent. We're right down the middle at 6-6. We're ready to see who will take Inferno in just a moment. But frankly, I again and again find myself saying somewhat of the same thing. I have no way, shape, or form of having any feeling that will determine my outcome of what this is to be.
I mean, when you look at the stat lines too for Rain Above, it's a CT side that's been depths of struggle. So, gonna have to be better than that average. See what they can post up. 3-man setup here on the A-bomb site. Great pluck out there from Louis. There's more where that came from. Damn, what a headshot. But he's got Sway You though, and there's still defenders here. Known inside of pit. Now Louis joins the site hold, but Cobalt, oh, so quick. And the crispy headshots come flying in. This STX. She'll do her best, but a 1v3 clutch is up.
Seeing this pistol picked back now and having one just head up, head down. It shouldn't be a forfeiture of that first frag, that first fight. Rain Above needs to not be given. It's really everybody else can start to make themselves more useful as they do group up. All three now in the same area. Before it was a little bit of a different position in the setup there, but time they've gotten double into pit. Very loud about showing that presence then. TX has got to get over the barrel and over the hump. Elevated off angle peak. It looks solid enough, but there's another elevated off angle, but this one's in the sight. It's been forfeited for a second. It'll actually never having even been needed. They get their lead back in. CT's off to something now. May be able to shut them down.
Yeah, man, Rain Above. So precise. A bunch of these headshots, excuse me, as Cobalt and Louis take all 5 between them. Lovely scenes out there as, once again, no bomb plant. You know what that means. It's Glock mode.
Might be them having themselves in their sight set up just a little bit more. The smokes will stop them. Temporarily, though, that's pretty good. Bursted out, the only player with any nade. There goes a flash now, let loose with Ava to pick it up immediately and back in the opposite way that they initially had tried to push the envelope on. Buddy home. Rip brackets, well, making it dry would be a good possibility for them to get closer in. Smoke to be blown. That's one less angle to really worry about. But that's not great. Deagle right in the dome of Louis, and the SMG also made a little bit of a mockery of. Still health onto Alice. 2 SMGs to play with in their own regard, with a lot of aim punch to be taken into account for. But what's Dave got for us in store?
I mean, even if Dave is able to kill the both of them, they get a bomb plant here. Okay, Dave's gonna swing. The bomb will be denied. A little gamble there from Empathy that is incorrect. Hate to see it. You know what I'd love to see, though? Everyone's, I say everyone's, at least like 2 different guns. The pistols, that is, from Sakura. Have like the framed sticker. It's like the guy with the tongue sticking out on the back of their deagle. That's sick.
I do love me a good craft.
Little goofy guy.
Yeah. Ain't nothing funny about this right now, Vincent, though. It's got to be serious. Brows down. This is some tough talks we're going to have to be having after elimination in the lower bracket potentially now, though. But Rain Above are looking to get ahead of that curve and that bell that they frag out Ava just running on a blind spray banana. They now know that Arch is compromised, but they, no, actually, nope. Not compromised at all. They're going to show themselves too wide and then get sprayed down. Still not entirely done.
Yeah, the isolated individual here at A could be in some trouble. Cobalt delivered a triple on the pistol round, though. That was from the same spot. STX coming in from the apartments and porch side, approached by Alice. Smoke clears. Cobalt livers and will even get a reload off as STX caught jumping on the railing. That's such a tragic timing, as Cobalt will recreate that triple kill from the pistol, but on an M4.
Be handling business, keeping them considerably and an opportunity on Inferno to see eye to eye. A bit more of the same in this round, I can only reckon. Only a handful of pieces to their arsenal being brought in 16th, so getting close and drawing distances between particularly Sarah may actually be perfectly timed.
Oh boy.
No smoke, no molly on Dave.
No, and I don't love how alone Sarah was there. Dave just collected nade. Will be getting there a little bit too late. Bam. He's flying through the smoke, but it won't be denying Sakura a bomb plant. That molly. Oh, it just doesn't quite do it. Oh, it's actually, it did get the bomb planter. My apologies, and the nade will follow that up. No plant for you, Sakura. Sorry to say. Sympathy. The only kill this round is hers. It stays that way. Double digits for Rain Above.
That's crazy.
I really thought they got the bomb plant.
Yeah, I was gonna say. They got it. They did it. Finished it up. First kill I really thought was gonna spiral that round out of control. I mean, I thought it had the makings of everything you would have wanted.
Especially when Sarah is so isolated from any sort of support. It's also just like a, honestly, kind of crazy off angle to play against Eco.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I do agree.
Also, what are we buying dualies for on an Eco round? E side.
I don't know. Shoot fast.
Sure.
A little bit cheaper than a Tech 9, I suppose. Whatever the case, maybe they just like it for heck's sake. It's a video game. Louis on this has one player pulling a nade. He takes one of his own out after he does damage that's lethal. The sight anchor swinging back in and forth. He will only be able to accumulate a singular, but that'll be fine and dandy when Louis had done the job prior. Serendipity also softened, but they're on all different sites, or rather sides, pardon me, of attack. Not united over at Archway, instead from both different areas of it. And the AWP is posted into halls of all things. That's probably something they weren't quite ready for.
No, definitely not. Also, Sarah just being really loud about that, too. Stomping his way up and in. Forward position in Moto already. That's, I mean, potentially surprised, but the time really already expired.
No, I think you're going to go in it for late. They're going to smoke the bomb, get around it eventually. Tucking, they might have done it. It's pistols for Allison. Nothing. I knew they would jump in at the last of those seconds. Perfect execution onto what was an absolute mind-boggling movement from the perspective of Sakura.
I mean, when you say last second, I mean, you are not lying.
The last 1 second on the defuse.
Yeah, there was no additional seconds to spare. Beautiful trade spacing for Sakura, by the way, on this execute initially. It's crazy, though, that Dave is able to play defense for his teammate, and they get away with it. 5 straight rounds for Rain Above.
Wow.
As the second half gets started, and it's actually Rain Above that called the attack pause right after that, surprisingly enough.
That's crazy. The last second, it was beeping, dude. That call being made requires the utmost amount of faith from one of the two of the players last left, whoever it was, but man, if it doesn't work out exactly as intended.
It's really helpful, too, when Rain Above have just a little bit of extra money that they can, you know, take a risk like that. Calculated. Sakura on yet another buy. time is starting to expire on this map for Sakura if they're not careful. It's not exactly the way I saw that going. Cobalt misses the shot. Swayu wants to go back for more. Really nice management of his angle there, but it's just a take on the Alice here. And Serendipity continues to fly on forward as Louis arrives onto the site just in time to be playing the sole defender. He does a little bit of damage. Another 50 HP gone, but Serendipity survives. This 2v4 isn't going to be like the previous 2v3. Right above, tuck tail and run.
Their best opportunity. Some words about how they think this map will go and give them at the very least, at the very minimum, time away and off from what will have hit 12. Money broken down just a little bit more. If they continue to weigh on their opponent's coffers, then they're going to be broke back soon enough. 4 sticking up and in, though, is going to be a huge positive. Tail end of this game with no further halves to be played or even thought about. This is everything on the line as it is.
Actually, a nice AK upgrade at the very end for Sarah.
Every decision is going to have major implications. How the rest of this map unfolds. Every buy, every nade thrown. And it also, I think, needs to be said that we've seen not even nearly as many conversations about the AWP versus AWP up until this point, where I feel like, obviously Cobalt hasn't been playing bad, but we're talking about the efficacy of the weapon in particular on this one. It's certainly been Alice. A little bit of a cool-off now that we've entered the attack, though. Just a little bit of one.
Yeah, though honestly understandable. That is an absurd spam. So Sarah, I don't think he actually was firing through that smoke initially. It was Dave, rather, who was doing that. Unknowingly provides the impetus for death for his teammate. Bomb just been collected from T-Stairs. Not yet made the commitment. 3 still confirmed here at A. And Sakura unsure of the full commitment here. Step in, take bracket control. Now back away.
See what they're made of. B-site under scrutiny with Swayu, who was, excuse me, Cobalt, pardon me, on the op, actually, on solo duty. No smoke thrown, no molly to delay, no HE to deny. It's only one gun. He's going to be firing off, and it's a swing and a miss. Another one posted upon him. Not going to be dedicating their own nades onto him, and that might be a problem. That might be their undoing. I was almost for a second there worried that Cobalt would get posted as the next of them was on. They're just going to initiate the save in the actual same second that he falls.
Yeah, I don't know. I really feel like that B site was destined for failure. And, you know, if it was hit, the round was over. That's the kind of the vibe of the setup from Rain Above. It was a gamble, given how much information that they were hearing Sakura about the B hit coming. Everyone moves together. Sakura moving with some purpose. It's Empathy in particular who hopes to deny one of these saves. Probably not going to be the case. I say thankfully for Rain Above, because, I mean, good money management. Continue buying here, but they needed all 3 of those guns.
Here we go again. Run it back to one of these games. It feels like it has no end. resting on the shoulders of those who have yet to really turn all the way up and in. I think that we were, or rather I had mentioned that Alice had cooled off a little bit in the second half. I mean, I don't mean to be that guy, but STX, frankly, extremely underwhelming on this Inferno thus far, and it has not changed. They've remained stagnant at about 4 or 5 kills for the last, like, 10 rounds, it feels, and that's simply not going to cut it now that things are only going to get more difficult with your rounds up against you.
Yeah.
The decision-making remains consistent and stable.
I mean, this is when it gets the toughest for that to be the case, for that to stay true. The pressure becomes immense. Consistent pressure, by the way, I feel like Sakura applying to Bracket and to Banana being a little bit harder to read. Great double setup with Sway. You activate second. His escape made as well. Not quite. Empathy will lock him down. Cobalt still a thorn in the side of Sakura. Is the bomb so much further away? No further confirmation for Rain above as they will step further. Susera back over to the B site. 18 seconds and Ava gets cut down. That should be game, or rather round, done here and now. Alice needs to separate these two CTs, but there's just no chance of that as Rain above will take 12. A massive hold there on Bracket initially, and though Sway you can't get away, Cobalt delivers the goods.
So close to keeping their time alive in this event, with Outfit 49 awaiting them in the rungs, and also opportunity to fight for money that next game just as well. I think that if they win this, they'll secure 7th, 8th, no short of that, but that 5th, 6th, that starts to give you that cash call out. Here goes the tack timeout. They don't want to let even one of these remaining 4 high access to their chance in that time of talk, whereas Sakura, at the very least, you know, a silver lining to what was the fact that they lose there. Their loss bonus has started to swell to a point with the money that they got from their wins that they can give us one more good go, a great one at that, I would even say, at least in terms of what they're going to be able to put forth.
Yeah, I mean, the money, no object here. Thankfully, well, it's either a loss or they'll be winning, so it's no longer a point of contention for the T side on this map. And so swift, I feel like Sakura getting access. What a fantastic flash. So Sarah gonna keep moving, but Cobalt doesn't let Eva stick around for free. That is tons of information. Cobalt gonna be staying over at B. Third defender joining A site, though I don't know if Dave's gonna get into the position fast enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. This pit jiggle, it's gonna be definitely a little bit worrisome as soon as he goes an inch wider. Blue actually does get ahead of them on the move, but it's not going to keep him standing. It won't keep him killing. It will keep Swayu, though, a conversational point in peace where they need to know whether or not he's dropped. He hasn't. He's stayed right on top of things. They don't drop the ball then. But here sees Cobalt on the run and on the move, where they don't have that same luxury that I was mentioning Sakura have.
No,
for them to close this game.
Looking at this money, and I'm trying to remember what the loss bonus is, because I think it's 3-round loss bonus, actually. It can't be. It can only be 2.
Yeah, 2. For the T's, you mean? Or for the CTs, sorry.
CTs.
This will be the second round upcoming, yes.
Point being that even with Cobalt saving this up, money is kind of complicated. You could argue for Swayu to get an MP9, Cobalt to drop a rifle, and Cercera to buy. But that meets the rule of 3. If you can get 3 rifles, it's probably worth a conversation at least.
That round also worth
highlighting.
Sorry, you go.
As you were highlighting before, there's not a lot of time left in this game. Just 3 rounds for overtime to proc here for Sakura.
I was gonna say,
so you don't want to waste it.
It's a pretty good omen as well that 4 of the 5 players on Sakura get a kill that round. It's not a one player show. by any means, and that's something we haven't really been able to say for a predominant margin of this map. Not going to be easy to try and combat them when they're all firing on all cylinders, as seems to be we've already got 2 players starting to hit that stride.
That's actually a really good point that you make, because, you know, considering that for a lot of this map, I mean, it's really been the Alice and Empathy show. STX and Ava, I mentioned it a couple times on the CT side, but the B-site, their B-site hold was really struggling. Looks like we're going halvesies on the buy for Rain Above. Dracera, he had the 5k, so he just gets an M4 sort of hero mode, but it's that alongside the op save from Cobalt that's going to give Rain Above some possible win cons for this round.
With respect to that banana smoke, but it's actually not going to do them as many favors as they would think, that there are players very much so ready and awaiting their arrivals. The op is on jiggle, adjustment is made, and not a single shot in retort, and that may mean that they expedite their process of hitting onto B.
Speed up right into the waiting arms of what is 3 CTs, but 2 of them have USBs. Perfect flash does indeed perfectly place that now. Oh, Sarah, they won't have a clue. Still in the mix. Oh, Alice, the no scope. Absolutely sublime from Alice.
I'll note, not the means to try and retake this. It's just going to mean that Louis has to hit his shoulder. Seen wider, Cobalt will go, and the player model betrays her. Serendipity. If anybody in this best of 3 to pull out a clutch, them to be the one is a great feel. The extinguishing of that Molotov. There is a player back. Call Louis. Better turn up. Better turn in. They needed a fuse just the same. A kit onto Cobalt. Will one of them stick it? They might need to, because Serendipity's around the bend. Killed out, dead, and just barely enough for Louis to hit it. Have they brought themselves through? Again, they have. 13-9. Clutch denied. And it's Sakura bounced as Rain Above move on.
Man, he actually hesitated for a second, like tapped the bomb first. I thought that might be enough to slow them down, where that wouldn't have gone through, but Louis delivers. Cobalt, it's the round where he saves the op, gets involved, delivers a multi. Rain Above. They will eliminate Sakura. They will stay alive in this ECL Cup once again. Very important victory for Rain Above, who are still trying to like solidify this 5. And with roster changes that we talked about a lot, man, what an incredible effort from Sakura. I feel like we got to see 3 very consistent good maps of Counter-Strike on both sides.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of fun with that one personally. There were not nearly as many shortcomings as maybe could have been led to believe if you only just peeked on for a little bit of each of those maps. I think that there were a couple of early fumbles for both of these teams. I think you looked particularly at Nuke for some of those. But then after that, it felt like it was a pretty tightly ran ship across the board. It was just fundamental Counter-Strike sound just enough. And then flatly, I think that we saw that one Ninja Defuse moment come through on Inferno as the last of those. And that was the most probably exciting out of any.
Well, and you know, calling it a ninja, I like not technically incorrect, but I think is a little unfair for, you know, the side of Sakura, where, you know, they really didn't make any huge mistakes there. I think that you just got to credit Rain Above as well for how perfectly they timed that. Got in right at the last second, and Dave playing defense, but also I think individuals really stepping up for the entirety of Rain Above, where unfortunately for Sakura, really saw some missing pieces. I mean, STX in particular, Ava as well, really struggling on that last map of Inferno.
Yeah, certainly. But as mentioned, the slot for the lower bracket determined. Going to be Rain Above against Outfit 49/Phoenix. It's going to be one of Goons who have taken down the Zomblers 2-0 to go against F5. And we find ourselves nearing the end, as we want to maybe look at the upper bracket one more time as well and see how that has shaped up. I think that that's certainly an important part to be with as well, because you're going to see one of the 2 of Lag or Sports Bet Expert bumped down to the lowers, and the same about Chicken Coop and Aether on the other side. And frankly, I think we're shaping up to what will be an extremely exciting set of lower bracket semifinals, as well as obviously the grand finals, what everybody is going to be thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, like, if you just want to generalize this a little bit more, you know, this is Lag's event to win/lose, you know, and I think that you know, that's shaping up quite nicely with the way that these upper bracket semis are looking as well. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up here for the night, though. That's going to be us giving you the one set of the best of 3-4 here in the second cup for ECL Challenger Season 51. There's going to be another tomorrow. Same time, same place, same casters, and hopefully the same amount of energy, maybe even a little bit more. We'll see what we can do about that. But until that point, myself, Why Not, and Vincent, very happy to have joined you. I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. I'm sure he feels the same. But until we do cross paths tomorrow in about 18 hours' time, see you then.
Timeout.
Be on free range, just trying to hunt anything maybe of use. Elevated is the crosshair and not able to replace it. So has Louis, who's in the red as the first and going to be hot-footing around this A site, and straight.
Don't fight the 5-7s, man. It's getting kills. Now it's just empathy with these smokes, and then they're gonna move out. We're under the ramp side. Sway still.
Yeah, not really committed to the left or right side. Both days stall Cobalt with 2 kills already to their name and a load.
Line lose position. Does more damage.
It's probably going to play your mind a little bit, like the kill in mid. Sarah, what the hell? I thought he was a T.
Will survive the nade, but Cobalt won't, and now it's
opportunity in chance way. STX not so much though. That's a good adjust.
Tail of what could have been, being the people, of course.
Blown, that's one less angle to really worry about. That's not great. Deagle right. The dome of Louis. Lighted over at Archway instead through both.
Banana in a little bit harder to read. Great double setup. This way you activate second. He's escaped.
They might need to, because Serendipity's around the bend.